Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
We are officially in the regular season of the NFL.
Thankfully.
Woo! I guess you could say not until a game is played.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it, when this nonsense of a charade of the preseason ends,
yes,
it's on. When you start doing NFL fantasy drafts, it's on.
It's all going on right now.
Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Hope everybody had a great weekend. A lot to talk about today. We've got guards finally, I don't even say putting it together because they win 5, they lose 5. They've been all over the map, but they did.
We'll see if
at
they
least
put it
win
together.
A series. Yeah, can they?
Big series this starting today.
I think this is it, Bull.
First game in 2 hours.
This is going to be massive. I'm going to the game tomorrow. Doubleheader today.
Yeah.
They could end up. They could at the end of Wednesday. They could be in third place, or they could have a nice cushion in first place.
Especially because the Twins are also playing the Braves. So
right, that helps us a lot.
Yeah.
That helps us a lot. So a lot to get to.
Yeah.
I will tell you this: we're going to talk about the softball game, the WKYC softball game, which was. I think it was like 114 degrees on the field.
Oh, my God.
It was ridiculous.
2 years in a row, it's been brutally
And
hot.
I was pushing to play 9 innings.
I was too.
Everybody else just about wanted.
I said 9.
Well, when we were in the 5th inning,
Yeah.
I got all kinds of flack from your dugout saying,
That's true.
We're going 7. We're going 7. If we'd gone 7, we would have won. I should have
only
shut my
because
mouth.
a couple of our good players had to leave, but they stayed
Oh,
till the
is that
end.
why you wanted to go 7?
They stayed till the end, but I wanted to play 9 because it was fun, even though I was struggling out
It's up
there.
to me, I'd play 2.
Yeah,
you know how I am.
Yeah.
We had a great time. We really did. A lot of fun. Mike, were you able to get anything out of it? I think Stephanie recorded the whole game, but you wouldn't be able to see anything on that, would you?
We have some videos that director Steve took.
Oh, good.
And that Gabby took.
Do you have the one of the play at first base?
Yes.
With Bull?
Well, they have
I
the
sent
end
you
of it,
guys
not
in
the whole
group
thing.
chat, yes.
Oh, I didn't see that.
They have where I ended up, not how I got there.
Okay, because
Yeah.
Tracy had a great shot of that whole play.
That was funny.
I have to scavenge through whatever Steph got upstairs. We had a lot of stuff to get into today and
Yeah.
graphics to make,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
unfortunately I didn't have a ton of time to
We'll do
spend.
that at the end of the show, right?
Yeah, we're going to do it at the end of the show,
softball game.
and later in the week when I get a chance to meet with Steph and go through the actual video they got from
Right.
the real camera, we'll revisit this because some of it will be worth revisiting. But
Sure.
for today, we'll give you the nuts and bolts of what happened. A couple of videos, but
Yeah.
if there is video evidence of a few things that did happen, better video evidence than we currently have,
Yeah.
I promise you
Yeah.
we will bring it back and show you guys.
I-
and before we dive
yeah.
into topics, Jay,
yeah.
tomorrow morning, are you going to be available to come in?
Yeah, I don't think tomorrow morning. Perhaps tomorrow. We're going live tomorrow from Progressive Field for the 6 o'clock. And I'll be there all day. I'll be there for the 5 and the 6 o'clock. I have a meeting directly after this show at 1 o'clock upstairs. I'll know exactly what my time frame for tomorrow looks like. But probably better later than earlier.
Later in the show?
Yeah, but let me
confirm
definitively
that.
get back to you after my
And
meeting
just so
upstairs
the people
today.
know, the reason we're asking is the video between you and Tyvis of the hitting challenge at
Yes.
Progressive Field is edited, but we don't want to debut it unless you're here with Tyvis
Yes,
to
absolutely.
talk about it. So
I agree.
let me know your schedule. If
Okay.
it works, we will air that tomorrow. If it doesn't, hopefully Thursday.
Okay.
We'll do
Either
that. And
or.
we're going to
I'll-
release the
I'll let
video
you
to
know.
members a day early, regardless of when we do it. So it'll
Okay.
be out for members this afternoon or Wednesday afternoon.
Let me just say one last thing, which will take me 4 seconds before we move on.
All right.
Everything, every muscle in my body is sore today.
Are you sore?
Everything.
That's
That's
Jason
all I'll
said
say.
to Texas said 3/4 of my muscles are pulled.
Yeah. That's it.
I feel great.
See?
I feel great.
Jay made a
today.
great play. We'll talk about it later.
It's
Go
you know
ahead.
I think it's because I play so much. I play
That's right.
baseball at least twice a week, and it helps keep you.
Yeah.
I think I shared this with you guys. You don't quit baseball because you get old. You get old because you quit playing baseball.
That's right.
And
That's
I
true.
truly believe that. Body in motion stays in motion.
Turn it
okay.
around.
Oh, by the way, you
Yeah.
had a delayed flight. You were supposed to be at the game.
Yes.
You probably would have been the difference in the game.
Yeah.
You were on our team.
When they hit you with the delays, and then we had a layover in Baltimore, and it was nasty work.
Wait, you were flying from San Diego.
Yes.
So you went from San Diego and you looked out of your plane and said, "There's my
Ohio.
house. There's my house."
Yeah.
And you kept going to Baltimore.
Yeah. Shout out to Southwest Airlines.
Oh my God. Well, we're glad you made it back.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
back in the building.
Let's
I'm
go.
back in the building.
But we missed you yesterday. You probably would have made the difference, G.
Yeah, that was a win. We would have got that win.
Tyvus certainly didn't make a difference.
And we'll tell you about that. We'll tell you about it all at the end of the show, but we got to dive into some topics. Got a huge show on tap for you guys, and we're going to start with our first topic, which is brought to us by FanDuel. You heard us talk a lot about FanDuel in the past. It is undisputed the #1 sportsbook in America, and we have something a little different for you guys. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook. We got some injury news on the Browns front this morning, literally within minutes. Kevin Stefanski, who is speaking to the media currently, said Jack Conklin, David Bell, Greg Newsome, and Dalvin Tomlinson will be back at practice. Jed Wills will be activated, but he won't practice yet. That comes on the heels of news coming earlier this morning that Nick Chubb will start the season on the PUP list, meaning he will be ineligible to be active during the first 4 games of the season, making his potential return to the field for the Browns at minimum week 5, if not later. Are any of you guys surprised at this news, and is it time we start tempering our expectations?
Can I ask a procedural question before we get there? Bull, you should know the answer to this. Everybody else might. Has anybody else reported that? I didn't see it anywhere else.
Yeah, Mary Kay did.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, no, it's
I didn't see it. Okay.
Rappaport did.
Because
it's officially official.
Okay. Yeah. Schefter's never wrong. So when I saw it, I'm like, oh, boy.
Right.
Let's see if everybody else has it.
Yeah.
If Mary Kay has it, it's definitely happening.
Yeah.
So go ahead. And
So, I mean, listen, I don't even want to say I'm disappointed. It stinks that he starts on the PUP list, but I think we kind of all expected it to some degree. I guess I was hopeful against hope that he'd play week 1 because he's such a freak.
Yeah.
But the reality is he had 2 surgeries less than a year ago on a knee, and he's 28 years old. He may be an elite physical specimen, great. Nobody's going to outwork Nick Chubb, but he's still a human being when it's all said and done. So it's disappointing. I hate even to use the word disappointing because it feels like it's his fault, which obviously it's not. But it's not a surprise at all that he's going to miss the beginning of the season.
I was on record weeks ago saying, listen, man, I like Nick Chubb. I think he's a special person. I think he's a special, talented individual when it comes to his rehab process. But having a torn ACL and specifically playing football and coming back from a torn ACL, I said it from the beginning. Nick Chubb's not going to be playing. And I know a lot of people said, oh, well, it's the contract and there's some incentives involved, so he'll be there. Or it's Chubb and he's the closest thing to Adrian Peterson. And I'm sitting there telling people, listen, your ligaments and your tendons and your cartilage and your meniscuses do not care about what your brain is talking about. He is a running back. His biggest attribute is being able to cut on a dime, being able to put his foot in the ground, being able to accelerate, and being able to run freely without thinking about being injured. When you watch Nick Chubb, people say you're running in straight lines. I did a video on Ultimate Browns. Straight line running is very far in the process, but when it comes to full 100% speed cutting, that doesn't happen until after you're starting to run and you're starting to run in straight lines. So he still has some more ways to go. And I kind of knew it from the fact that, look, I tore 2 ACLs. Jay tore 3 ACLs. It's different from walking around in a mall or walking around or do even functional lifting like squatting because his quads are already strong. But in terms of cutting and running over people, that wasn't happening. I expected him to be on the PUP list.
I agree with Bull. We first of all, we're optimists in Cleveland. We always have been after our 0-16 season. I heard a lot of people saying we were going to make the playoffs the next year. I heard people before the 0-16 season say, hey, if things go our way, we're going to make the playoffs. That's who we are. We're a resilient and optimistic bunch. So I think we all were leaning on the side of wild optimism that he would be ready September 8th. Is that the day of the opener with the Cowboys? I think we were all hopeful. And I think, to your point, Bull, we do look at him as superhuman. Well, it's Nick Chubb. He's going to do it.
Right.
I'm not so sure. Maybe one day we'll find out. Probably not, because the Browns are not transparent. But I'm not sure that the Browns didn't make the decision post-surgery last October that he's going to be 12 months from surgery date. Because a lot of people try to backtrack it to the injury. That's a mistake.
Right, sure.
As you know. The rehab clock starts ticking when the last suture is made. Now you're rehabbing.
Yeah.
Before that, you're not. You can prehab an injury, but for me, I think the Browns, and I agree with this, by the way. I think this is the smart and cautious play. I think they started the clock after he had his surgery, and which I don't remember what the date of that was. I think there were a few weeks.
Yeah, there was like almost
I know
a month.
in one of my torn ACLs, I had to wait 16 days because the swelling wasn't down.
I waited 10 days on my right knee because the swelling went down and they wouldn't have surgery.
Yeah,
so
it takes some time.
His surgery was not until November.
That was
Okay.
his second surgery.
So
that
yeah,
was
he
the
did
second
have.
one?
Remember, they went in and they did one, and they said he didn't have a torn ACL. And when they went in, they said, "Oh no, he did have a torn ACL."
Right.
So they went back in, and that was November, early November, I would hope.
Browns running back Nick Chubb underwent his scheduled second surgery today to repair the ACL.
That was the 14th of November.
Okay,
the
so
14th of
guys,
November, yeah.
This could be longer than just 4
Yeah.
weeks. So if you do the math and start working forward from November 15th, that's when the ACL was reconstructed.
Yeah.
November the 15th.
Right.
So most doctors, when they set their rehab clock, go 1 year to the day. Now, this obviously isn't most situations. He's not most human beings. He's superhuman. So even if you went forward from November to September, that still only gets you to 10 months.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson did it in 8 months, and the world stopped
That was
spinning,
crazy.
remember?
Yeah.
Everybody was like, he's resetting the clock for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, no, he didn't. It wasn't modern medicine. It was freak of nature.
Yeah.
So I think the Browns were very cautious here, knowing that November 15th was when the clock started. And look, if he can be ready by October 8th, that's still 11 months, and that's
Right.
still ahead of schedule.
That's 6 weeks from today.
It's 6
or
weeks.
yesterday.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm not surprised. I'm not disappointed. What I will say is this. It does change the way I look at the season because we do not have a skillful backup running back. We don't. We have guys that we hope or we think, but we don't have anybody that we're counting on and saying, well, we know he can carry the load.
I think Jerome Ford is skillful. He's just not as skillful as Nick Chubb.
Well,
I mean,
few are, but
Yeah.
Bull, what I would say is he an RB1 in a fantasy league? He's not for me.
I think Jerome.
a lower end. A lower end.
Jerome?
Well, no, not. He's not a top 12. No, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
for me, I changed the way I look at the season. The defense better come out of the gates playing Super Bowl caliber defense.
Well, it's
because
not-
this offense is not going to look good.
But
guys.
it's not just about the defense. And we'll get into Deshaun Watson. But the days of excuses are over.
done.
Deshaun Watson has got to carry this offense until
Yeah.
Nick Chubb comes back.
Well,
I don't want to hear about offensive line.
Right.
I don't want to hear about rust. I don't want to hear
No,
about
we've
nothing.
had too many.
The passing game's got to be on point right from the get-go.
Well, listen, I didn't expect Nick Chubb to play.
Right.
Like, so
Yeah, it hasn't changed my- exactly.
I ain't changed nothing. Nick Chubb, I didn't expect him to play. If you could get Nick Chubb to come back and be strong at the end of the season,
That's when you need him.
that's when you're going to want him and
Yeah.
when you're going to need
And
him.
he'll be fresh or more fresh.
Sure.
If you can't beat the Giants without Nick Chubb or the Raiders without Nick Chubb, then what are we talking about here?
You're right. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, 1 point on Chubb, too. Ian Rappaport added this to the context of the Chubb starting the season on the PUP list, and he tweeted that the Browns plan for Nick Chubb to begin the season on the PUP list back on the spring when they restructured his deal. Here's how. Most roster bonuses require 17 games active to earn the full amount. Chubb's deal is the rare exception, requiring only 12 games,
Yeah.
which makes
Yeah.
it indicate, despite
They
all the
knew all
fodder,
along.
and including the fact that on this very show we had the conversation 23 different times, we'll
Right.
be ready for week 1. The Browns never expected him to be on the field
No, and that's
against
proof.
Dallas in week
You're right.
1.
That
And
does
that's,
serve
that's
as proof to it.
And by the way, what's interesting, I was looking at the schedule this morning, and I noted that, so the first game he can come back is October 6th or 8th or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And that's against Washington. Another team, maybe they're a little better, but they're not great.
Right.
After that, and by the way, that would be 5 games, which would leave him with 12 games left if he didn't play in that one.
Right.
After that, the Browns play a 3-game stretch. Go to after that, Mike. I know it's
6,
the Bengals,
7, and 8.
So the Eagles, the Bengals, Ravens. That's your first really tough stretch in the schedule.
Hey, you know what? Throw the Chargers in there too, Bull. I think that
we don't know what they're going to be. That should be better.
But I think by that point in the year, we will know what they are.
Right. And I wonder if he's not quite ready week 5, if they wait one more week for when the schedule starts, and that would get him 12 games. Now, listen, we're just saying his surgery was November. So if he came back for the Eagles in week 6, which is the middle of October, that's 11 months. That would still be great. But I don't know. It is interesting that's 12 games, because if he played 12 games, the first game would be the Eagles.
That's a stretch, man.
Yeah. That's going to be challenging.
Those are all playoff teams.
Well, not the Chargers, but you mean just those 3. Yeah,
those 3. Those 3 are all playoff teams.
Yeah, they should be.
And, I think the Chargers are one of the big mystery teams this year. They've had the big piece that you need, quarterback. Their coaching. They failed in the last couple of years because of their coaching, in my view.
That was part of it,
especially 2 years ago.
Yes.
But now that they've got a real football coach in there who's played it, who's coached his team to a Super Bowl, I think San Diego is going to be the dark horse team in the AFC. They're not going to be an easy out for anybody.
What's interesting, though, is their skill positions. They don't really have great talent at their skill positions.
They've got a quarterback.
We'll see.
They've got a guy that can
interesting
sling
to see
it.
how they play.
Yeah, I think to your point of no excuses, Bull, you can see that there are built-in reasons why they would struggle early on. I read something today online, I think it was CBS Sports, the 10 biggest takeaways from the preseason. The first one, by the way, was that the Steelers still have a major quarterback hole, which I thought was good for us.
Yeah.
But 6th on this list was that the Browns' offense is going to be challenged. And they didn't even mention, because this was written prior to today.
Right.
They didn't even mention the absence of Nick Chubb.
Right.
But they said Deshaun Watson, who's played very little meaningful football over the last 3 years, the offensive line that's banged up, and a wide receiver core that has no chemistry at all with Watson because they haven't spent much time even on the practice field together.
Well, they've been on the practice field. I mean, he's mostly practiced, but he hasn't played in the games. I think that's a difference.
He mentioned specifically Judy and Deshaun have almost no chemistry.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out when the season starts. Because
we will.
I think it's overblown.
You think it's overblown?
Yeah, it's preseason, man.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a sec.
Yeah.
I do have one note before I do a read. Mary Kay just tweeted out that Browns rookie defensive tackle Mike Hall expected to be placed on the NFL Commissioner's exempt list by Tuesday in wake of the domestic violence charge, sources tell Cleveland.com. We'll continue to update that, follow it. And the reason that is a big deal is with roster cutdown day being tomorrow.
Yeah.
They have to finagle some numbers, and if Hall is not part of the 53-man roster because he's on the Commissioner's exempt list, that gives them a roster spot to keep another quarterback, receiver, defensive back, etc. So just something to keep an eye on for tomorrow, and we'll find out when we get more details on this.
Before you do your read, we didn't, because I don't know, I know you're going to switch the topic, but you mentioned in your initial tweet about Jack Conklin and Jed Wills. I think that's a pretty big deal that we didn't talk about. Or are we getting to that now?
Well, they're not practicing till tomorrow, so they're off the list, but we're not sure if they're actually going to practice yet. So
I thought he said Conklin was going to practice.
Yeah, you said Conklin was going to, but Wills was not.
I'll read the tweet exactly again. Hold on.
I thought that's what he said.
Go ahead.
Conklin has passed his physical and is coming off the PUP list. And Mary Kay tweeted, hold on, I got to find the tweet.
Yeah. I thought you said he's going to practice. That would be a big deal. Coming off the pup. Okay, so that doesn't say he's practicing.
Didn't say he's practicing.
Because who knows what
here's the exact tweet. This was from Daniel Afusu of ESPN.
Okay.
Reinforcements are coming for the Browns. Stefanski said the following: "We'll practice tomorrow." So I did say I read that right. Conklin, Bell, Tomlinson, Newsome, Njoku, Pierre Strong, Jordan Hicks, Tony Fields. Wills will be activated but not practice.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty big deal. Those are some. Obviously, the Wills thing continues to be weird. But those are some big. First of all, they've been. It seems like they've been working Jack Conklin kind of behind the scenes at left tackle.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, what are you going to do? If he's ready to go and Jed's not, you got to play him at left tackle.
We're not half-stepping.
Well,
with
you know
that.
what? During the game Saturday night, and I'm sorry if you stayed up for that, but if you did, you heard Nathan Segura at one point mention that Andrew Berry had told him earlier in the day that he expected the offensive line to be intact and ready to go for week one.
Yeah.
Which was, that's news.
Yeah.
Because we weren't sure. I mean, these guys have all been dinged.
Yeah.
And
but
so,
if Jed is still not practicing, then maybe he'll practice. I mean, we still got 2 weeks before the game.
Yeah.
But they got to get Conklin ready to play left tackle.
just in case.
Just in case. And it's good. I mean, Dalvin Tomlinson coming back is big. Greg Newsome coming back is big. David Njoku able to practice. Pierre Strong because they need the depth at running back right now. So that's good news that a lot of these guys are going to practice.
When you got linemen who haven't been doing anything or working back to come back from injury, the thing I worry about is the conditioning level. Sucking wind and putting the pads on and being able to play 30, 40, 50, 60 snaps. I wonder how they're dealing with the acclimating them back into getting into football shape, because that's something you can't simulate. You got to just be out there and get those game reps. So as far as bigger guys with conditioning. So
like Jedrick especially, who's a big dude.
All right, do your read.
Yeah, and as we get more information on what they do in practice, if it's limited, if it's full participation, we'll find out tomorrow. They don't practice today, so we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll update you guys daily as we get through. But we're going to move on to a little reaction from the Seattle game, and this topic is going to be brought to us by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for a small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has all the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. It helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role in any given month. Over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites, so if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The Seattle game on Saturday featured Jameis Winston, featured DTR, featured Tyler Huntley, did not feature Deshaun Watson and a handful of other starters. We talked about it all week, whether we thought he would, whether he wouldn't, should he not play. Kevin Stefanski came to the ultimate decision not to put Deshaun Watson out there against the first-team Seattle defense. G, you weren't here last week when we had the discussion. Do you agree that it was the right call to not play Deshaun Watson against the Seattle first-team defense with Jermaine Ifedi at left tackle?
If this was the movies, we would play a montage of all the things I've said for the last 6 months in a nice little bubble in the side. It would be kind of shadowy, and they would be like, remember when I told y'all that Deshaun Watson wasn't going to play? Remember when I told y'all that he should? I was like, bro, I wouldn't play him. I put him on bubble wrap, right? Everybody was like, you're crazy. There's no way Stefanski is letting Deshaun Watson come out here and not play. I said, come on, bro. I said that along with Nick Chubb. I said, that's not going to happen. Well, I was out on a vacation. I was watching it. I was on the beach looking around. And my phone started ringing. And it wasn't nobody. It was just the alerts. And it was all the alarming voices of all the Browns fans and media that he was not playing. And I said, wow, these guys really are fired up right now. And I'm the Duke of knee jerk. The reality is, us Cleveland Browns fans and the media have not moved along with the process. We have not grown with our squad. And what do you mean by that, G. Bush? You haven't grown with the team because we still think that this team is at the prove-it stage. They're not. This team isn't young. This team isn't some young team where we're trying to develop people or trying to find studs and trying to find who actually belongs in the league. Actually, to be truthful, they're a veteran squad with a bunch of older guys that have injuries. And if we haven't learned anything, the Bible talks about this all the time. People that are always learning but never coming to the knowledge of. What does that really mean? That means that you have things happen to you in your past, and instead of learning from it and truly learning from mistakes you made, you keep taking time to learn. We ain't got time to keep learning. The Browns have all of these different people on PUP lists. We just talked about Conklin. We just talked about Wills. We got to the fact that we know Deshaun Watson's arm and Newsome and Dalvin Thompson. All these guys have had offseason surgery. So if you're Kevin Stefanski, your job is to get the most out of your team and get them prepared for week 1. And the reality of it is there is no amount of passes that Deshaun Watson was going to throw against Seattle, whether it was 5, 10, or 15, that was going to guarantee that he played well or played terrible against the Cowboys. At the end of the day, those 5 passes or 10 passes that he was going to throw, that ain't for Watson. That's for us. That's for the people that don't know if he's going to be good or not. That's our insecurities. At the end of the day, Kevin Stefanski's job is to say, I need to gauge where my team at, get the most out of them, and put them on the field against the Dallas Cowboys in the game that counts. Not put Deshaun Watson out there so it can appease people so they can feel good about coming to the season. Because the reality is, if he was 5 of 5 for 80 yards and a touchdown, no one's going to say, oh, wow, he's going to light the Cowboys up. If he was 0 of 5 or 1 of 6 with 2 picks, it still doesn't mean that he's going to come out and be great or terrible against the Cowboys. His job was to get him to the first game of the season, just like it's his job to get Jed Wills and Conklin and those dudes out to the first game of the season. Reality is, preseason is for us in the media. It don't count in high school. It don't count in college football. They don't even do it, right? Ask yourself, why do they run preseason games in the NFL? It's because it makes money and it gives the NFL an opportunity to market themselves 24 hours, 7 days a week. That's it. So for me, I'm like, okay, well, look, is it uncomfortable to not see Deshaun Watson play or see if he's going to be back or how good he is compared to last year? Sure, everybody would like to see that. But that's not where the stage of the Browns are in. They trying to figure it out and get guys on the field because they're not trying to deal with what they did last year, losing guys for 1 game, 2 games. For what? No, they're going to go into the season. They'll let Deshaun get his money off, and we'll have to hope and see and wait and see what he's talking about against the Cowboys.
I'm surprised. Last year, you said you wanted them to play in the preseason. You needed to see them. I want to see what these guys look like.
Different stage.
I disagree. I vehemently disagree with one thing you said.
Okay.
That we're not in the prove-it stage. There are 4 teams in my mind that are not in the prove-it stage in the NFL. Everybody else is in the prove-it stage. We did not win a playoff game last year. Mm-hmm. We did not win a playoff game the previous year. Mm-hmm. We did not win a playoff game the year before that. Mm-hmm. We are very much in the prove-it stage. Now, I agree with what you said. We've got a lot of veterans, and we've got players that have played a long time and that should know the drill by now. But for me, if I'm looking at all things even, all 32 teams, and I'm saying which teams have to prove something to me this year, the Browns might be in the top 3.
But the time to prove it isn't in preseason.
No. However, I know you said, and I agree with you, they play the preseason to make money. That's it. But it is what it is. Mm-hmm. How many of the 32 teams played their starting quarterbacks in the preseason?
I believe it was 24, 25, something like that.
I'll find the list, but I think it's 24.
I know it was overwhelmingly more did than didn't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, there are various reasons why you wouldn't. Did Aaron Rodgers play in the preseason? I don't want him in the preseason. I don't need him in the preseason. He's Aaron freaking Rodgers. Deshaun Watson, for the stage of his career that he's in, there could not be a more prove-it year for a player this year than Deshaun Watson.
I agree.
We all agree that this season is plain and simply, it is on his shoulders. I thought there was a very interesting, and Joel Bitonio's a smart guy. He is a very smart guy. I've interviewed him a number of times. I've watched all of his interviews. He's cerebral and he's thoughtful and nothing falls out of his mouth by accident. And when Aditi was interviewing him about where, I thought it was funny because she asked the question like 3 times. When she asked it, they broke off a 75-yard touchdown run, so it got interrupted. Then she started asking it again, and they were kicking the extra point. They were going to go to a commercial, so she said, I'll ask it when we come back from the break. They finally got the question out to Joel Bitonio. Are you okay with Deshaun not playing? Where are you on Deshaun Watson? And I thought it was really interesting. The word that Joel used, which was not by accident, because he's a smart guy, he kept saying Deshaun is very confident. He never said Deshaun's ready. He's looked great in camp. He's been crisp. He's got timing with his receiver. He never said that. he kept saying the same thing over and over. Well, Deshaun's very confident in his abilities. Deshaun's very confident. Deshaun has always been a very confident player. I think we all watched his confidence get rocked over the last 2 years. I think that, and you're right. I mean, if he was 10 for 11, we're not going to say, oh, pencil it in. He's going to throw for 300 yards against the Cowboys. No. If he's 2 for 11, we're not going to say, oh, there goes the season. However,
some people would say that.
Some people
would say that.
And also, some people would on the other side, 10 for 11,
That's
say.
true.
So there's always going to be the knee-jerk people. I think that in this particular instance, because he's played, in essence, 10 meaningful games over the last 3 calendar years, guys, he might be confident. But trust me when I tell you this. Somewhere in the deep recesses of his psyche, he's wondering, can I still do this?
Of course, there's always a 10% that lays down there that says, can I still do this?
I had Major League Baseball players in their late 30s used to tell me, spring training used to be a waste for me, but not anymore. And I would say, oh yeah, why is that? Because at 35, you get old really quick. And I've seen it throughout my career. Guys come back for their 13th season, and suddenly over the winter they got old. They forgot how to hit. And I'm not suggesting that Deshaun Watson has gotten old. What I'm suggesting is it's been 3 calendar years since he played outstanding football. Mm-hmm. It won't hurt his psyche for him to go out there against Seattle and play 2 drives and lead to a couple of touchdowns and just get used to game speed again. Because I remember last year when you said there's a difference between game speed and even when you're practicing with another team, there's a difference. I don't want him to have to go through that in the first half against Dallas, because if it takes us a half to get jump-started against Dallas, we'll likely start 0-1. And nobody wants that. I just think that it was a mistake. I got to say, I'm stunned by it, because it was a complete reversal from Kevin Stefanski. Complete reversal.
Well, I will say this before I toss it to Boo. He's been patiently waiting in the bullpen. I think Kevin Stefanski, watching him every single day, I think one of the things that we got to talk, right? We got to come to the conclusion, right? When I used to criticize Kevin Stefanski for play calling, I used to say, this ain't it, I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. He eventually proved himself. He eventually won Coach of the Year twice. He got a team to do something last year that was miraculous. They should not have made the playoffs with that. Here's my thought on this, though. When you watch Kevin Stefanski, if you're going to give him credit and you want to say that he should be having the play calls and he should be able to do that and have autonomy, we also have to trust him on his decision-making on what's best for Deshaun Watson and him getting ready to play.
Right.
If Kevin Stefanski feels like, hey, he has the physical stuff down, I've seen enough of that, I'm worried about getting him to the season healthy.
Are we sure, though, that was Kevin's decision? Because Kevin had been saying he's going to play in Seattle. All along, he'd been playing that, and then all of a sudden, nope, he's not playing.
Same thing about play calling. Was it Kevin's decision to get rid of Van Pelt? Was it Kevin's decision to take the play calling? I got to take his word at it.
Are you intimating that Kevin didn't make this decision?
No,
perhaps it came from somewhere else?
I'm saying
because I'm not convinced it didn't come from somewhere else.
I'm saying the fact that Kevin Stefanski has made all these calls just because he doesn't give us the optics of it. Kevin Stefanski is shown to be the guy that's saying, hey, I'm in charge of this. This is my ship. I'm running it. I made Alex Van Pelt's decision. I made the decision to say Dorsey's not calling plays. I'm making the decision on Deshaun Watson because I've always felt, Bull, this is too big to fail. There is no way, there's no upside in him getting injured in a preseason game.
That's not a reason to not play him, though.
Yes, it is.
No, because you're living in your fears. There's going to be real bullets flying around that field on September 8th. Are we not going to play him because he might get hurt?
Living is about having it's about being smart, not living in your fears. Like there's no upside. There's none. We already established.
What do you mean? What if he took 2 drives, took him down the field, and was 12 for 13 and looked crisp, at least he would know here, yeah, I still got this.
And then DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons would show up in Cleveland and come off the edge, and they're exponentially better than whatever
they're
the Seattle
still going
got.
to show up.
And so my point is, whatever he did in that game does not denote that he's going to either be good or bad in the first game.
Well, 25 other teams saw value in starting their quarterback. By the way, this is a new thing. In the old days, And by that, I mean 2 years ago. All 32 starting quarterbacks played in the preseason.
Usually.
And most of them played at least a full game.
Bull, haven't heard from you yet. What do you think?
This is the first time ever in the history of the show Mike is worried about me getting in. I was not worried. See, unlike others in this business.
I was, because we had an 11:30 guest.
Right.
Oh, we have an 11:30
That's
guest?
why I'm worried. Yeah, I need you to get in.
That's why I was worried too, Bull.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I forgot our guest was coming on 11:30. Well, I'll say this. You guys had a good debate going, so I didn't want to interrupt it. My thoughts are kind of in between the two of you. I don't think it's a big deal that he didn't
Would you
play.
have played him if you're Kevin Stefanski?
With the knowledge that I have, I would have played him. Now, maybe Deshaun Watson wasn't feeling quite ready to play. I don't know. Based on the knowledge, if it were my choice, I'd want him to play some. But I don't think in the end it's a huge deal. To me, it's not 10 or 0.
Right.
I think it's in between.
I'd say I'm a 6 on it. Towards
Yes.
wanting him to play.
My choice would have been to play him, but in the end, I don't think it's that big a deal that he didn't play. What I will say, I disagree with G that it's not a prove-it year. It definitely is a prove-it year to me.
No, I don't want to. It's
Yeah.
a prove-it year in the regular season. I don't think you could prove anything in the.
That is fair. That is fair.
That's
You're
my
right.
thoughts.
But
No, but you said this team is not doesn't need
In
to
the prove-it stage.
This team is very much in the prove-it stage for me.
But what's that, Mike?
Our guest is ready. So
Yeah, let's go to the guest. I'll get back. We can get back to this.
yeah, let's go back to
Okay.
that. Yeah, we can come back to that because I think you've got a lot more to say.
I do have a lot more to say, but we'll get back to it after. It's
Absolutely.
fine.
Let me do a quick read. We're
Okay.
going to bring in our guest here. Guys, G. Bush is back from vacation, which means the Ultimate Brown Show will be back to its normal schedule. And starting next week, instead of Monday and Fridays, it changes to Tuesday and Fridays on the Ultimate Brown Show. So we're happy to have G back from vacation, and he will have some extra Browns content for you on the UCSS YouTube channel twice a week, all throughout the season, like he always does. And with that, we are very pleased to welcome on Cleveland City Council President Blaine Griffin to the show to give us a little update on the Browns Stadium Saga and the latest on that. How you doing, Councilman? Appreciate you joining us today on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
I'm doing good. How you guys doing today?
Great.
Hey, we're great. Blaine, great to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, there's so many questions about the Cleveland Stadium issue. I think what I want you to do, there's so much I don't want to say misconception, but break down for the layman fan what's going on behind the scenes. And when I say that, obviously the city wants the Browns to stay downtown. I believe now the county wants the Browns to stay downtown. It feels like Browns ownership wants to take them to Brook Park and build Jimmy World. Is that accurate to start off with, at least?
It's close to being accurate. Let me say this to you. There's still a lot of conversations happening, and I will tell you that in having conversations with the Browns leadership team, they're still researching parallel paths. Clearly, they would like to go to Brook Park, and I think the beautiful renderings that they showed and everything actually, is a testament to that. And listen, I understand these guys want a legacy project. They, are two wealthy people who want to leave their legacy and their footprint. And I'm glad that they want to do it in Northeast Ohio. We just want to make sure that people understand the amount of commitment, time, and investment it took to build up our central business district and what a blow it would be to our central business district.
Councilman, what do you say to the folks that say, the renovation of the stadium, when the stadium came here, when they got here in 1999, it was not a state-of-the-art. And a new lease on an already outdated stadium isn't a good financial investment in terms of renovating a stadium that was never really truly a state-of-the-art type facility compared to some of the other ones.
Well, you got to remember and put it in context that we were really in a fight to hurry up and get a team. And the NFL had us on a pretty aggressive time clock, which is why former Mayor Mike White really worked hard to really try to hurry up and get this stadium up and running. I believe that there is a way to extend the life of the present stadium until we really figure out how we want to move forward. And that's something that I'm just hoping that we could do. I know that the Browns have a sense of urgency. We have a sense of urgency. We want to put this to bed. However, I do believe that back in the day that they really should have cluster built around Gateway, where we would have had more opportunity to have revived that part of town, and then we could have opened up our lakefront and riverfront for other, very exciting development. So I think that if we would have had the time and really been able to put the planning into this, that we probably could have done it a little bit better. But I don't second guess actions of the council and the mayors that were doing this at the time, because they were in a very rushed effort to hurry up and get this done so that we could save our team.
Council, when you look at the money that the city is willing to put in for this stadium, I mean, personally, I'm sure I'm not in the minority where I think that Jimmy Haslam should pay for wherever he goes. He should pay for it all himself. He's a billionaire. The city is got a ton of poor people. It's pretty disgusting to think any money would go to help a billionaire and not to the people who need the money. But I know that, unfortunately, that's not how it works in our society these days. But that money that, if they stay in the city, and I can't remember the exact amount of money that the mayor talked about how much the city would put into that, but where does that money come from?
A lot of it will come from sin tax. Some of it will come from admissions tax, and some of it will come from parking revenue, which is one of the things that we as a council are going to have to deliberate. We want to understand, where do we make the money? One of the things that I always appreciate about David Gilbert and the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission and Destination Cleveland is that he could literally show you the breakdown per every event, how much money the city received in income tax and other fees. Unfortunately, that's been an elusive number to get from our Cleveland teams because of proprietary information and other things. But I'm really working with him and others to really try to understand the financial impact, because where we gain money and where we build are able to pay for city services, or when we actually are able to have those restaurants and actually have the income taxes of those players. So there's some revenue streams that the general public does not see that pays for those dreaded potholes. And last I checked, Republicans nor Democrats like potholes. It pays for police officers, it pays for streets. So that's how you generate revenue for a city, which is one of the things that I'm really holding everybody accountable to, is what will we lose revenue wise if we lose this asset to the downtown central business district? That's something that, we may not be able to recover from for 15, 20 years. And I don't know where you guys be, but I hope I'll be somewhere having a cocktail on the beach in Florida.
I do want to drill down on that more, because when people ask me, like fans will ask me, well, what do you think about the new stadium? I'm always like, I don't know how to answer, because I don't know what the ramifications are personally. How would I know what the ramifications are for the city? I'm like, well, it's only, there's not a lot of events there, right? It's not like baseball or basketball where there's 40 or 80 games or more potentially. With the football, it's only 8, maybe 10 games with the preseason, possibly a playoff game every 2-3 decades or so. But how, like, what is the real numbers there with obviously not the exact dollar, but how much, for the people who would say, well, how bad can it hurt the city? It's only 10 events. You could do other things with the land, maybe turn it into housing, or I don't know. What would you say to that?
Well, that's the reason why we want to really make sure that we understand the impact and the economic impact. This isn't just about feeling good, even though, I believe it would be a hurt to the morale of the Central Business District if we did lose the team from the downtown Central Business District. But when people come, they're actually staying for the weekends. I think the last time I checked, 80% of the people that come to the games are people that come to the region from other areas, or from as far as Youngstown, Medina, and some of those places that they actually come up to Cleveland and they spend money. They spend money in restaurants. And if you talk to some of those small business owners and some of those restaurants and some of those hotels, they'll tell you that those 10 to 12 events a year may make up approximately 2/3 of their revenue. It's like I serve an area called Little Italy. I would tell you, without the Feast of the Assumption, that most of those businesses over there will go under. And you could say that's only one day a year, but that's a huge business day that actually pays for almost 6 months worth of revenue for some of these businesses. So I don't want to underscore, just because it's a small amount of games there, how much it means to the downtown central business district, because there's other residual dollars that we receive when those things happen.
Councilman Griffin, I'm not sure if you know the answer to this question, but it seems as though the Browns have sort of run in, and I don't want to call it a brick wall, but the city and the county seem to be aligned on what they want moving forward. And now it seems as though they've turned their attention to the state, hoping to get state money to perhaps fill in the blanks from what they're willing to pay to build that stadium in Brook Park. Do we know what that number is, what they would need from the state in order to go ahead with this project in Brook Park? And also, if you could, are they likely to get that number?
Well, it's a $1.2 billion proposition. And if they were originally asking for the city and county and state to come up with half of that, that would still be on the table. And I will tell you that the county has made it clear that they do not feel that they have the capacity, nor do they believe it is a good use of taxpayer dollars to back the bonds for Brook Park, which means that the state would have to back all of this financing because the city's not going to put dollars into it. And let's face it, the syntax would have to actually get state approval in order to be increased in order to bring in more syntax money. So these are complicated fiscal deals. And from what I'm hearing at the state level, and I thought it was a great article in the Cleveland.com yesterday, is that there may not be an appetite to do it here. You also got to do it in Cincinnati and some of these other places that want heavy investments in public financing and stadiums. And let me just tell you this as well. The last 10 stadium deals, and you asked the question earlier about if a person can buy it. Well, Los Angeles and SoFi was built all by itself.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then, by the owner. And then let me give you some more information that I just learned this week, which is very, very interesting, that for the first time, the NFL is going to allow private investment and private equity in some of these teams, which is going to be interesting because that's how they used to keep a tight knit with the owners. And now it looks like they're trying to open up other avenues of financing, which hopefully that can help bring more private equity into these kind of deals. These are complicated deals. And so I'm not the main person at the table negotiating them. Eventually, it has to come to Cleveland City Council. So I really try to work hard with the administration in understanding the nuances of this. And you're right. Whenever you have the two leaders at the top, from the county executive and the mayor, and the two council presidents from the county council and me, all basically saying, "Hey, we like it in the central business district," then that's something that it'd be, I would think that the Haslam family and their leadership team would love to have a conversation about. And I will tell you this, I'm one that believes in regional collaboration. And there's some things that I've mentioned in the past, and the Brook Park mayor doesn't believe that that's the path that they want to go, and I respect that. But if they did want to go to Brook Park and they wanted the city to be a part of it, then I'm always willing to talk. However, I think that the best investment would be downtown in the central business district.
Well, Councilman, one of the things that I've hear all the time is, I'm from, Canton. I've been in Cleveland, I want to say about 12 or 13 years now. And one of the things that I've been hearing since I even got here was the renovation of the lakefront. We've heard about it through different cycles. We've heard about it through different leadership groups. And it just seems to be like it hasn't really, came into fruition. Do you believe that if the city had invested or continue or would have an initiative and a concrete plan to revitalize the lakefront, like in some of the other places like Chicago, and do some things like that and try to do something with the airport, that would be more of an enticing thing to keep the Cleveland Browns? Because maybe from the Browns' perspective, they believe that they are, how would I say it, they're the only thing keeping people around. Maybe they want to partner with the city and making sure that both ends play their role in keeping and making sure that people do want to come downtown.
So let me say this. I think that was part of the rub, that eventually, if you remember, the Haslam Sports Group wanted to have the land bridge to connect public square to the lake. And I know that eventually everybody pushed it off to the administration, but the original plan was for them to actually have that area developed and built out and have offices and housing and everything else. I truly believe they might have run into some issues. I'm not privy to this, so I can't guarantee this, but I know the past, whenever there was talk about development in that area, FAA really had a lot of issues, which means that we also need to determine the future of Burke. Which that was actually something that I thought might be a good location to consider building a stadium as well. So there's other complications, but to me, from what I'm hearing from all sides, the biggest rub is parking revenue. And I don't know if you looked at like Jerry World down in Dallas, or you looked at Kansas City, and they have these rows and rows and hundreds of rows of parking. That's heavy revenue, and that's revenue that will probably be about $50 to $80 a car, not to mention the experience that people will have if they were able to get the Brook Park site. So I think a lot of this is that they're landlocked downtown and they won't be able to get the parking revenue that they really would like to get. Now, once again, these are just things that I'm hearing. I am not in the day-to-day negotiations. I've offered where we stand as council, and when it comes to us, because we don't negotiate the deal, we just basically, analyze it once it's brought to us to make sure that it's the best deal for the taxpayers and move forward.
Councilman, last thing before we let you go, you mentioned there briefly, maybe building a stadium at Burke. It seems like the best compromise, I guess, would, yes, a new stadium, but do it in Cleveland proper and not in Brook Park. Why? It seems like that's not being considered here. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'm not sure what their acreage of land that they need. I think that the biggest issue that they've had is that they just don't see the land compilation in Cleveland. And one of the challenges that you always have in Cleveland is that you have many parcels, and it's hard to put the acres that you need. Hence why we weren't able to land some of the big projects like Intel and other things, because they go to these places like Columbus that still have wide swaths of country land, and they can basically build land cheap. But if any example of how that doesn't work in isolation is Richfield Stadium. That's the reason why they moved back downtown, so that they can have more vibrancy, and when people come, they can get the game day experience as well as the downtown experience of Cleveland. And I would tell you that, I don't know if you've been to Severance or if you've been to some of these suburban locations, even beautiful Crocker Park. We don't need another Legacy Village or Crocker Park at this time. I mean, I just don't know how that works. So at the end of the day, my common sense tells me that a lot of this is about how they want to build more parking revenue. And like I said, I'm glad that they want to stay in the region. I do happen to get along with the Haslams as well as their leadership team. I just believe that the best place is downtown, but if they're resolute to go to Brook Park, council is ready to have a conversation and see where we go.
All right, very interesting stuff.
That's fair.
City Council President Blaine Griffin. Blaine, thank you very much, and best of luck from your angle on the city and keeping this thing downtown. I know that's a great interest to the city. Thank you. And tell my man, I actually went to college at Malone in Canton, so it's hard to marry a girl from Canton. So Canton is
330.
330. Very nice.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks.
I think we got some insight there.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
He answered all the questions. I've always found him to be completely forthright. He gives you his thoughts, and I think that's what we need. I think for a while there was some game playing behind the scenes, mostly I think with the Haslams.
Yeah.
Their decision to fast roll out that computer animation, I think that was a move made to put everybody back on their heels. In other words, say, this is what it looks like. It's not just an idea. It's a reality, at least in computer animation.
Yeah.
And I think it caught the city and the county off guard.
They dropped that sizzle reel on you
real quick. And everyone saw it. They're like, we want that.
What's that?
Well, who wouldn't want that shiny new toy? But, Bull, I think you made the most salient points. The poverty level in Cleveland, Ohio is far too high. One of the worst in the entire country. I believe second or third worst in the nation. For us to be thinking about subsidizing a new stadium for a billionaire so we can just add billions to his portfolio. And I think the most interesting point made by Council President Griffin, and this gives me great insight moving forward. He mentioned the Cleveland.com article yesterday, which I thought was on point. But if we think there's going to be an appetite in Cincinnati and Columbus to fund with state tax dollars a new stadium in Cleveland for billionaires, people haven't been paying attention.
Yeah.
These stadium initiatives have failed time and again in places where they are wildly popular. Where is the team more popular than the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yep.
And they resoundingly rejected a tax citizen-funded stadium. And I think, so where I think all that's going is, and Griffin mentioned this, and this is key, for the first time the NFL is opening now to private investments for things like this.
That's how they should do it.
It's because they have to.
Yeah, they better.
Because the gig is up on trying to build it on our back.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, if you're going to say we got a poverty level, we got child hunger, we got all these things, you can't shoot down stadium stuff and then be like, oh, well, we don't like social service programs. We don't have money for that either. They got to take the money that they're not using and reinvest into the city,
in
even
education
and all that.
Of course, that goes without saying.
All I know is that when we drive out of the parking lot here and I make a left to go up Lakeside to the highway, I see dozens of people living on the street, lining up to get food.
The men's homeless shelter.
That whole area there, it's so sad.
Bull, I've worked here now 5 years, and with each passing month, there's greater need at that men's homeless shelter.
Yeah.
When I first started driving that way in 2019, there were people.
Yeah.
Then in 20, there were dozens. Then with COVID, there were hundreds. Now, if you drive through Cleveland, and I'm not breaking news here, if you haven't been to downtown Cleveland lately, there's going to be parts of it you don't recognize. We have homeless encampments in the city of Cleveland.
Yeah. Nobody should be living on the street.
And we're going to take money that could go to fix problems in our community and give them to a billionaire who wants to make more billions.
Yeah.
I just think that gig is up.
Yeah,
and if they want to privately finance it, like SoFi,
fine.
More
power
power to you.
And then you keep the money, you do whatever you
That's
want.
right. Do it. You pan it out to
pay your fair
shareholders.
share of taxes, though.
They definitely have to pay their taxes.
McNuggets coming up next on NPR, Medicaid for all. Go ahead. There you go.
Good or bad,
right?
Weigh in.
We're going to get back to the Browns in a little bit. We'll finish the Watson conversation. We'll talk about DTR and Huntley, but we got to talk a little Guardians for a sec, guys. And today's Guardians segment is brought to us by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel in the past. Well, it's America's #1 sportsbook, and we have something a little different for you guys right now. Starting today through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime you want. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and download America's #1 sportsbook. The Guardians took 2 of 3 from the Rangers, thanks in large part to John Kenzie Noel's power surge, guys. He may not be perfect, but I would vote Jay Honk for president. I'm just telling you that right now. God. He would have my vote today.
His shot Saturday night.
He's the most fun player to watch in the Guardians right now, and I know that's high praise because they have Jose and some other guys, but every time he's at the plate, it is must-see.
Did you see Saturday night when he scored easily, but he slid head first into home plate?
Because he's the best.
I literally thought he was going to start doing snow angels. He's just a kid playing a kid's game. It's great.
They found him something. About time they found a power hitter. I used to tell people all the time, how can y'all find pitchers growing off trees? How can you find middle infielders? You got 96 of them. You can't find me a power right-handed bat, and they done slipped up and caught one. And by the way, let's not be talking about the man's batting average like he ain't batting 268. That ain't light.
That's above league average.
That ain't light.
I'm still worried about him long term because his chase rate is crazy, and if he doesn't fix that in the offseason or over the next 2 off seasons, then he's going to be in this line of Franmil Reyes and Oscar Gonzalez.
That's right. You're right.
I don't know why any pitcher would throw him a strike. I would
either.
not throw him a strike. If Jay was pitching, he'd be throwing it off the outside corner, trying to get him to chase. But he's got prolific power. If you make a mistake to him, forget it.
Saturday night,
the
pitcher made a mistake.
That was a bomb.
His launch angle was like 35 or 36%.
Yeah, I mean, he's strong as an ox. They need it because they're not getting much power from anybody else these days.
No, although
they did it 4 home runs Saturday.
Saturday was a good sign.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Ramirez and Naylor hit back-to-back bombs.
Right.
Off a pitcher they had just brought into the game. He was a sidewinder.
I can't remember who it was.
He's been called up and sent down 7 times this year.
Who was it?
I can't remember his name. Maybe something Hispanic. I can't remember. But he clearly isn't a major league pitcher. They're bringing him up because they need to stretch innings, and the Rangers are, having an interesting season.
Was it Grant Anderson?
No, I don't think it was Anderson. Maybe 7th inning, 8th inning.
Walter Pennington?
I can't even remember.
Matt Festa? Dane Dunning? Jose Leclerc?
I can't even remember. He gave up the 2 home runs back
to back.
It was
Anderson. Anderson
was
has 3
Anderson?
home runs.
Was Anderson?
For some reason,
Grant Anderson.
Yeah, he's been up and down.
.03 ERA
he threw 2 cookies, and And what do good hitters do? They
Yeah.
take cookies into the
That's right.
into the
That's right.
stands.
Yeah.
And so, I was glad to see that we scored all the runs.
Yeah.
But clearly, you're doing it against a AAA pitcher on those two counts.
Mm-hmm.
But gosh, Junkensi Noel, I just hope he doesn't turn into the latest iteration of Oscar Mercado and Oscar Gonzalez and Franmil Reyes, because it's a game of adjustments.
That's right.
And his chase rate is ridiculous.
And that's something he's going to have to adjust in the offseason.
And if he does, he'll stick around. If he doesn't, he's here for a minute.
He doesn't. Listen, he's always going to be a guy who strikes out. He's a big power hitter. But if he can get his chase rate down where it's at a reasonable level, he could become a special player. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
I agree.
There's some very impressive raw talent there. It was a good weekend. They needed to win this series against a Texas team that's not played particularly well. You increased your lead. You're up 3. So there's exactly 32 games left in the season.
Yeah.
The Royals, the Guardians, and the Twins all have exactly 32 games left. They'll play 32 games in 35 days starting today. Obviously, it won't stay even because the Guardians and the Royals have a doubleheader today where the Twins play one game against the Braves. Look at the White Sox, 44.5.
They've already lost 100 games.
I just keep looking at
So
that.
the worst record in history, modern history,
118?
was the 62 Mets. They finished 40 and 120. They only played
120.
160 games.
Oh, this team will break that record.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win 10 more games.
I don't either.
They're about as hideous as it gets. But I asked Zach Meisel. Zach Meisel and I did our Guardian show this morning. I said, if the Guardians play 500 exactly the rest of the way, they'd finish 91 and 71.
Right.
Would they win the division? He said no.
I don't think they will either.
And I don't think they will either.
No.
So they probably got to win 95 games to win the division, which means going 20 and 12. That should not be unreasonable for them. But today, I'm a little nervous about this doubleheader because I don't like what they got going on pitching-wise.
I don't either. They're not set up well.
No, they're going to have Nick Sandlin. His numbers are misleading because he's a relief pitcher. It's
going to be a bullpen game, won't it?
Well, what they're doing is they're going to call up Joey Cantillo and Logan Allen today. So Nick Sandlin's going to pitch the first inning. Remember, Joey Cantillo's a lefty.
Right.
They don't want him to face. They're going to have Sandlin start, so he gets to face Salvador Perez and Bobby Witt Jr. Because that's their two best players.
Right.
Obviously.
That's smart.
So you're going to skip. So you're going to bring in Cantillo in the second inning after you've already passed those guys.
To get a delayed start, really.
Right. So in theory, he only has to face them maybe once, maybe twice, depending on how well he pitches. And then the second game is going to be Logan Allen, who's been terrible. Now the Royals have Cole Reagans going in the first game. He's been fantastic,
Serviceable.
although his last start was not good.
No, but overall this year he's been very, very good.
Yeah, he's excellent. And their second starter, you sure about that ERA on Alec Marsh?
That seems low.
Earl made it. I'll double check.
I don't think that's his ERA. I could have sworn it was in the 4s, but I could be wrong. I don't think those are his numbers. But you are missing 2 of the 3 best Royals pitchers in this series.
God.
Seth Lugo pitched yesterday.
Yeah, those numbers are incorrect.
Are those Brady Singer's numbers?
Yeah,
No, they were Cole Reagan's.
Oh,
he
Cole.
changed the name and did not change the
Oh,
number.
got it.
So you're missing 2 of their 3 best starters in Lugo and Singer, who won't pitch in this series, but will pitch against the Guardians next week in Kansas City. But you just got to split this doubleheader today.
Have to.
I want both.
No blood,
Yeah.
no
You got to have both.
Hey, if they win both, they're in great shape because they got the pitching edge the next 2
Yep.
days, even though Bybee and Williams are both coming off bad starts.
Yep.
Williams has been a huge disappointment, let's face it, so
No,
far.
he has.
And
Yeah.
I don't want it's not, for a while I was like, it's still spring training for him, but you know what? He's been pitching 2 months now.
Something's not right. He was totally unable to duplicate what he was able to do last year, which is tough, man. I got to tell you, I was in the last month, actually a little more than that, before the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I said, this is your opportunity. You don't go big every year.
Right.
You look at where you are and how your team's playing, and you go big. And they didn't go big.
Nope.
And
And they haven't gone big in 8 years.
No, they haven't. They haven't.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this definitively, but I asked myself Saturday when I was looking at the lineup, is this a deep playoff run lineup? And the fact of it is, it's not. It's not. The 7, 8, 9 hitters are all hovering around 200.
Yeah.
You can't make a deep playoff run with 3 bats in the bottom of your lineup that are hitting 200. You can't do it.
You saw the Yankees. One thing, I was in San Diego. They were showing all the Yankees games. I don't know. I'm like, they're global or something. They just on TV. But you saw when the Yankees and the Guardians played. When you got Aaron Judge,
There's no relief in their
Yeah,
lineup.
see, I disagree
Soto.
with that. Their lineup, bottom of their lineup stinks too.
But
They don't have 3 guys that are hitting 200.
They got 3 dudes that can
and if
hit.
they are, they at least have power.
They got Judge and Soto. The rest
listen,
of their
yes.
lineup is not special.
Stanton hits.
And you know what?
The Guardians too.
Really, if you look at it, the difference, I mean, obviously Judge is having an unbelievable season.
Yeah.
But, Stanton's not bad.
He's already got 50 home runs.
He's got 50 home runs. I think Naylor and Ramirez are a good 1-2 power punch. They really are. And if Noel is now kind of had he played the whole season, Noel would have over 20 home runs right now.
Right.
So, I mean, they're okay there, but Bull, when you get to the 7 hole in our lineup, it's a lost inning. And if you and it's almost like you're playing 6 innings of offense because you're losing 3 innings with the bottom of your lineup.
Let me just give you the bottom of the Yankee lineup, just to be fair.
Okay.
6 through 9 in yesterday's game, and these guys play quite our start. Anthony Volpe's batting 6 for them. He's batting .247 with a .682 OPS. Not good.
No, but .247 is the league average this year.
All right.
What's the 7-hitter?
The 7-hitter Trevino's hitting .233 with a .697 OPS. That's bad.
Okay.
It's bad, but it's better than
He's
199.
he's not their starting catcher anymore, though, Bull.
They've been going back and forth. They use 2 guys.
Okay.
Alex Verdugo batting .229 with a .650 OPS. That's terrible.
Okay.
It is, but compared to what we've got.
And DJ LeMahieu, 196 with a .522 OPS. Now, he's been hurt for a while.
Yeah, that's an anomaly.
The reality is their lineup's not that much better than the Guardians.
But when you got Aaron
3
Judge,
guys 200. Our last 3 guys are at like
I hear
205,
ya.
201, 207.
when you got guys that is hitting. Like, they're hitting 2. Aaron Judge can literally hit 3 home runs in it. You can't even pitch to the dude.
I understand
Soto,
that.
you can't pitch to him right now.
I'm just saying the bottom of the Yankee lineup is not. I think it can be if everything else is right, because I don't think the other teams. The Guardians are lucky. You're right, they should have gone all in. You're right, they didn't do enough to improve this team. Shame on the front office, who rarely takes any blame, and shame on ownership that they did not really go all in.
I mostly
this
blame
year.
ownership, Bull. I think
It's
the front
mostly
office
ownership.
would have loved to make deals.
Of course, it's
but
mostly
you got to have
ownership.
the checkbook behind
You gotta have it. But the reality is that none of the other teams in the American League are without flaws. The Yankee lineup is not that good. Now listen, Soto and Judge are so good that it makes up for a lot. But the reality, they're not quite as bad. I'm not saying it's as bad as the Guardians, but the bottom of their lineup, Verdugo's been terrible. Volpe had a great start. He's been terrible since the middle of the season. Their bottom of the lineup is not that good.
I know, but
again,
maybe
it's
it was
better than the Guardians.
I mean, the Guardians the other day against the Yankees got a leadoff hit, and then
Listen,
they didn't get a hit for the next 9 innings.
But I think it's more right now with the Guardians, outside of the last 2 days, that their good players are not playing well.
Well,
you could survive 7, 8, and 9 being bad if 1 through 6 is doing great. But Jose's been in a slump. Josh Naylor's been terrible. Stephen Kwan's batting average has dropped 80 points since his side.
304 right now.
Yeah, now the question is, can he hit 300, not 400?
Right.
Remember when how nuts we were talking about? I'm glad you brought that up, Bull, because I wanted to figure out just how bad it's been.
Yeah.
So this was before yesterday, I believe. Cleveland's 1-2-3 punch.
Yeah.
Naylor, Ramirez, Kwan. Over the last 7 games, Naylor, 087.
Yeah.
Ramirez, 095. Kwan, 083.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's, you can't, it's impossible to win that way when your
You
3 best
can't
hitters
do
aren't
it.
doing anything.
And you know what the problem is? I think when you look at the lineup, you're like, we're good. We've got 3 really good bats.
Right.
Well, if they all go on strike at the same time.
That's right.
And that's where they've been the last week, minus Saturday and yesterday.
Yeah.
When they all go on strike at the same time, who else in that
That's
lineup
right.
is going to pick it up?
That's right. That's the problem. Now, I've been screaming they got to call guys up. They're not going to do it. They'll call somebody up when they expand the rosters on September 1st. But, I mean, it's because you have a weakness at the back of your lineup, the front's got to be great. If the first 5, 6 hitters play great in the playoffs, yes, I think the Guardians can make a deep run because they have an advantage that no other team does. They have by far the best bullpen in baseball.
It is incredible.
And it's way better than the Yankees. It's way better than the Orioles. And it's better than all these teams.
I think it's the best bullpen in baseball.
No doubt. Houston's got a good bullpen, but the Guardians is head and shoulders. And here's an amazing thing about what Emmanuel Clase, and right now I got him, I almost would never vote for a closer, and if I had a vote, I would consider voting for him. Now, I still think he's going to finish second, because Scooble, I don't hold the team being bad.
How many wins does Scooble have? 12?
I don't know.
This season, Tariq Scooble
I think I looked
has,
last week. He had 12. I think.
according to ESPN, which I'm going to assume is right, Scooble has 15 wins.
Yeah, I don't personally care about wins, but he's got 15. He's got a 2.60 ERA.
ERA's great.
He's going to strike out over 200 batters this inning by his next game. So I would still vote for him, but Clase's got to be perfect the rest of the season.
He does.
If he doesn't give up a run the rest of the season, and if Scooble has any setback, he's got a chance to win. Here's a crazy stat, though. This tells you how nasty a pitcher Emmanuel Clase is. We usually think about strikeouts showing how nasty you are.
Sure.
And Gavin Williams is all these strikeouts. If you look at everybody on the Guardians that has pitched at least one inning this year, he is 16th on the team in strikeout rate. 16th.
Yeah, it's not even one per. It's not even 9.
7 per 9 innings.
Yeah,
which
7 per 9.
change.
You know what he's been getting a lot of this year? Ground balls.
He
A lot of
induces
ground balls.
weak contact every time. Mariano Rivera, he struck out his share of guys, but he didn't have a crazy strikeout total.
No.
He just put the pitch where he wanted.
And that's what Clase's doing.
Yeah.
It's all about location.
Yeah.
You know what's so hard?
I'm gonna vote. I would, if I had a vote. I think if he goes perfect,
He's certainly
the
right
rest
there.
of the way. Now look,
well, he have an ERA under 0.50 if he doesn't give up another run.
it's really hard to do that in the month of September. You know, you're tired.
Of course.
You're exhausted,
Yeah.
and so he's not going to pitch in both games today.
Nope.
So we better have a sizable lead in one of them.
Yeah.
But
hopefully the first.
But you are counting on two guys at the top of your rotation that were in AAA last year. Like, you're counting on Gavin Williams and Bybee. They're young pitchers. Like, we're like, oh, Gavin Williams, he got to pitch better. But like, they're second year guys.
No,
like,
pitching is a mess.
And so when you get to the playoffs, it's like, okay, are you really going to say, all right, well, you got to go to Yankee Stadium and I need you to put up 6 innings of 1-run ball with 3 hits. Can you do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly
That's
a
tough.
challenge.
That's a
tough.
challenge.
The Yankees have veteran starters. They have
And Garrett Cole,
nobody pitching great
it's
for them.
lights out for him. When
Garrett Cole,
well, he
after
hasn't-
the leadoff single,
it's done.
He looked
I
like
hear
Garrett
you.
Cole.
He hasn't been great this year since coming back from
but
injury,
he
but he
looked
was great the other day.
Yeah, he looked great the other day.
The Orioles have mostly young pitchers besides Corbin Burns, who hasn't pitched well lately. I'm just saying the other teams are flawed. I'm not.
Yes.
I know the Guardians have played mostly poor baseball for the last couple of weeks, and if the top of the lineup doesn't hit in the playoffs, they got no shot, none whatsoever. Because unlike some other teams like Baltimore, like Houston, they can't make it up with the back end of their lineup because those guys are not good enough. But I'm not completely writing off the Guardians in the playoffs if they can right the ship, if they can get the top of the lineup going, and they can get enough starting pitching. Because the bullpen's a big advantage.
Percent chance they make it to the World Series right now, if you had to bet. Percentage.
Low. But I don't have that. There's no team I would give a high percentage in the American
No,
League.
I
Is it
wouldn't
more than
either.
20?
No.
No. I'd say
about 10.
I'd say 10.
10%.
And that I could probably easily go below 10.
But I wouldn't give anybody 20. I don't know. There's a single team I could say that I'm that confident going 20%.
Nobody's having that kind of year.
No.
I mean, hell, I think the Guardians are still a game or two from the best record in the American League.
Let me ask you a question on the Guardians, and then we'll wrap up, go to some more Brown stuff. Matthew Boyd again pitched another.
Yeah.
Another
Wow.
gem. Are
Hey.
you guys starting to believe
Yes.
that
Yes.
Matthew Boyd might actually
Hey.
be something down the
Yes.
stretch here?
Yes.
I think
Okay.
maybe you get lightning in a bottle with him for a half a season would be good. And Ben Lively, after having 2 bad starts, has bounced back with 2 good
Did you
starts
see
in
the
a row.
graphic they showed of Ben Lively, and I think it was in the pregame the other
Yeah.
night, with his location? His location chart looks just like Greg Maddux. I mean, I always used to study Maddox's location chart, and Smoltz too, and Glavine, all those guys. But Maddox's location chart there was nothing in the heart of the zone.
Yeah.
Nothing. And the edges were littered with pitches. And the middle, and that's what Ben Lively's doing this year. And I know that we said, how long can Ben Lively do this smoke and mirrors act? Well, sometimes players have an epiphany, and usually it can be later in their career. I'm just wondering, I'd love to talk to Lively about what he's changed last season to this.
Yeah.
But when you look at his location chart, to me, that explains everything.
Well, a couple of things on that, Jay. First of all, there's so few pitchers like him in Major League Baseball because if you don't throw a velocity, it's like you don't even get a chance. You got Kyle Hendricks of the
You're
Cubs.
right.
There's a few guys.
But that's how Greg Maddux survived.
Those guys can take time to develop. What's fascinating, you bring up Greg Maddux. I was watching a video with him and Randy Johnson yesterday. It was really interesting. I can't even remember where I found it. But Maddux said in high school he was throwing mid-90s. And he couldn't throw the ball over the plate.
Right.
And
he
then
had
he
to
just
take
learned how to be, I got to be pinpoint.
Yep.
The velocity doesn't matter. I got to be
Randy
pinpoint.
Johnson was very similar, too.
Yeah, I mean,
he was throwing 100, but didn't know where it was going.
But had great. One last thing about baseball that has nothing to do with the Guardians. I mean, we got a couple of great stories. Obviously, what Aaron Judge is doing. But Shohei Ohtani became the fastest player ever to get the 40-40. No play. I know this is not a straight, it's an odd number, so it sounds weird. But no player in the history of baseball has ever gone 42-42.
He's going to do that for sure.
He's definitely going to do that.
He could get 50-50.
He's got a chance 50-50. He's got 41 homers and 40 steals.
Yeah, he could easily get there if he wants to.
And so it's you telling me,
and he's doing it for a great team.
And,
Yes,
and he's an elite pitcher, and he still bases.
Yeah, well, he's
and-
not pitching this year, but
No,
yeah.
he's not, but the amazing thing is he's still recovering from Tommy John.
That's crazy.
Quick thing on Greg Maddux, just to explain, you don't have to overpower guys. Greg Maddux never overpowered guys. I saw 2 videos of Maddux over the weekend. It's odd that you said that. One of them, there were quick stories. I did not know this. He, through his whole career, called his own pitches.
Yeah.
And they did an interview with Eduardo Perez,
Eddie Perez.
Eddie Perez.
Yeah.
And they said that when he would catch the ball, when Eddie would throw it back, if he caught it here, he was going to throw an outside fastball.
Oh, that's fascinating.
If he caught it here, he was going to throw an inside fastball. If he was going to throw a cutter, he would go like this. And if he was going to throw a curve, he would go like this.
That is funny.
And no one ever picked up on it. And Eddie would flash signs.
And he was his personal catcher.
He was his personal catcher.
Yeah.
The other story was, this was a great one. Chipper Jones told this story.
Yeah.
Said that Leo Mazzoni was sent to the mound by Bobby Cox because
I just
he wanted,
saw this on Twitter.
It was great.
Yeah.
Mazzoni came out because Bobby didn't want to do it and said, go tell him to intentionally walk. Who was the hitter?
Chipper Jones.
No, Chipper Jones caught the ball at third base.
Chipper
was telling the story.
I literally
Jeff Bagwell. No, that was another video I saw.
No, I literally just watched this morning. Hold on.
Gonzalez.
Luis Gonzalez. Arizona. Yes.
He came out and he said, walk him. He goes, not a chance in hell. Give me 2 pitches. Give me 2 pitches. I'm going to throw 3 pitches. I'm going to throw change-ups down and in, and I'm going to get him to pop up to third on the 3rd pitch. Well, what do you think happened?
He popped him to third.
He popped him to third on the 3rd pitch, and Chipper was telling the story. He said, I got under the ball, and he's like, you have got to be kidding me.
That is crazy.
Another one was Eddie had told him early in the season, they were playing the Astros, they were winning 8-0. And he called Eddie out to the mound, and he said, I want to pitch him in. He goes, you don't pitch Bagwell in. Why would you pitch him in? He goes, I want to pitch him in. He throws an inside fastball, and he hits it 1,000 feet. So, Eddie said, I was pissed. I was like, what are you doing? He said after the game, he goes, listen, we got a good team. They've got a good team. Really good chance we see them in the playoffs. He's going to sit on that pitch that he'll never see again, and it will come back. Sure enough, in a playoff game in the 7th inning with the bases loaded in a tight game, he sat up there and waited for that inside fastball. He got 3 changeups down and in and struck him out on 3 pitches.
That's great.
That's the beauty and the genius of Greg Maddux.
That is amazing.
He is incredible. All right, we're going to pivot back to a little Brown stock here to wrap up the show. This next topic is brought to us by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for a small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Guys, this morning, Mike Sando of The Athletic released his annual QB tiers rankings, and this is voted on by NFL coaches and executives across the league. And Jason sent us a little tidbit of the article, so I don't really have the rest of the article outside of what he sent us. But Tier 3 is where Deshaun Watson fell, and these are the other quarterbacks in Tier 3, voted on by NFL executives and coaches. Tua came in at 15 in Tier 3. Trevor Lawrence at 16 in Tier 3. Steve, take the next one when you're ready. You had Kyler Murray at 17 in Tier 3. Deshaun Watson at 18 in Tier 3. Baker Mayfield at 19 in Tier 3. And to round out Tier 3, you had Derek Carr, Geno Smith, and Russell Wilson, all in Tier 3, according to Mike Sando's QB tier rankings, voted on by NFL coaches and executives. I have some of the quotes from those executives in the article, if you'd like me to read those for you guys real quick. But
before,
Bo, if you want to start.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, it is important that what Mike said. This is not Mike Sando's picks.
No.
He's just compiling them.
That's exactly right.
From 50 guys.
But, I don't know where you guys are on this, but I've always thought that this is a really important list because of who's doing the voting. It's not a popularity contest.
Right.
It's the executives and the coaches.
And it is year to year because guys move around.
Yes.
It's mostly based on what they've seen. It's mostly based on what they saw last year and what they expect this year.
And by the way, I usually hate these lists because I think they're just all over the place. But just preliminarily, I don't got a problem with this.
No, I don't either.
By the way, let me read. So they graded 30 quarterbacks total.
Right.
And all 30 of the quarterbacks end up on one of 4 tiers. So there's 4 tiers in terms of quarterbacks. I think this is an important thing to mention before you get to the quotes specifically on Watson, Mike. So players on Tier 1, it says, a Tier 1 quarterback can carry his team each week. The team wins because of him. He expertly handles pure passing situations. He has no real holes in his game. Tier 2, a Tier 2 quarterback can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. He can handle pure passing situations in doses and or possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above Tier 3. He has a hole or two in his game. Now to Tier 3, which is where both Deshaun Watson and our old buddy Baker Mayfield ended up. Tier 3 quarterback is a legitimate starter, but needs a heavier running game and or defensive component to win. A lower volume drop back passing offense suits him best. And finally, Tier 4, a Tier 4 quarterback could be an unproven player, not enough information for voters to classify, or a veteran who ideally would not start all 17 games. So really there's 3 tiers for starting quarterbacks.
Here are a couple quotes real quick, G, and then I'll start with you. But these are just a couple quotes that Mike Sando compiled from these NFL executives and coaches regarding Deshaun Watson. First quote comes from an NFL executive who says, he's a 3 and it's just a bad fit. You have an RPO quarterback in a play-action offense, not a good mix. An NFL defensive coach said he's a better pocket passer than given credit for, but he's always been slow going through his progressions because he knew if it broke down, people could not catch him. And another NFL offensive coach said, I wonder if he loves it enough. He should be way better than this. Those were the 3 quotes from NFL executives that Mike Sando included in his annual QB tier rankings regarding Deshaun Watson.
Mike, did I misread? I thought that comment from that last one, I thought he said, I wonder if he loves the offense enough.
No,
there's a difference.
It just says, I wonder if he loves it enough. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Wow, it's funny because when I read it, I actually somehow threw the word offense in there.
I'm reading it again. No, that was exactly copy and paste.
So, meaning he loves, whether or not he loves football enough?
You can interpret it however you
no, I guess that's how I would
interpret it. Let me read, Mike, the second quote you had there from the defensive coach, there's actually more to that quote. Do you have it? Because I can read it.
Yeah, read it, Paul.
Just read it.
Read it.
Because I think the second part is really fascinating.
I agree with you. I thought the same thing when I read it.
He says, a lot of stuff he did with Houston, there was designed RPOs and movement plays for him. But this is the most fascinating part. Maybe the processing is a tick slow. I can't explain it. It just feels like there's something missing. That is exactly how I feel about Deshaun Watson. It just feels like something when you watched him. For all the people like, oh, he had a great moment here, he had a great moment there. When I watched him in Houston, every time I saw him play in Houston, without almost any exceptions, I always was like, wow, special player, special player. And I have not felt that way once. There is something missing. I don't know what it is, but I have not felt that way, and I didn't even feel that way. Unlike most people, I didn't even feel that way in the second half of San Diego. I think that's been the most overhyped half of football in the history of sport. I don't know what it is, and I hope he can get it back because I remember watching him in Houston.
Do you think it's processing? Because to me, the word that jumped out to me was processing.
It did, but if that was such an issue, then why was it an issue in Houston?
Well, I'll tell you why, and this is my opinion, but I'm fascinated to get your thoughts on it. I think in Houston, he was more green-lit to go when the pocket broke down. I feel in Cleveland, there is a hesitancy from the offensive, whether it's Stefanski or Van Pelt or whomever, I feel like they were trying to drive into his head, go through all of your progressions before you decide to run.
That's not his game.
And if you tell a quarterback to hold it a half second longer, in the NFL, that's like 2 days. So if you're 3.2 to delivery or 3.7 to delivery, that makes all the difference in the world.
Well, hopefully
and if they're trying to make him a more pocket passer and to get him in there to wait that extra tick, that's the difference between tucking the ball and running for 18 yards or taking a sack or throwing an incompletion or, worse yet, an interception.
It is the reason why they changed the offense. Like, Kevin Stefanski's offense is very 1, 2, 3. Here's this option. This is this option. They made a big deal out of running option routes. And option routes have been in the game since, like, the early 2000s.
Yeah, but they acted like that was like changing the game.
That was changing the world. I'm like, no, this is what regular people run. Even as I watched the game, right? And I will say this about Ken Dorsey. As I was watching the game, it was the first time I saw Cleveland Browns receivers running diagonally with someone chasing them.
Right.
Usually it's sit down and guys are all over him. He's throwing the ball in the phone booth. I'm like, dang, it take all that to complete the route? But now you see Woods running shallow crosses across the field, making these guys play. I think he was not comfortable in offense. It was obvious. And really, like, offense and the way you put things together, Patrick Mahomes could be great anywhere. But what really makes him a cheat code is Andy Reid is like, yeah, that's how he do it. Throw behind the back passes. That's him. Like, but you got it. Some people want to see it first, Bull, right? They want to see that before they let you have that type of autonomy, right? LeBron played one way. And if you're a coach and you're watching LeBron play, he's going to dribble the ball. He's going to have the rock. But if you put the people around him and change the way the shooters are, you'll see the best out of LeBron, right? So my thing is, I think he was correct in a lot of things he's saying. And one reason that they say his processing is a tick slower, I agree with that. It's just like playing baseball. If you quit a year and you don't play baseball from 13 to 14, you come back 15 years old. Now people throwing the ball 5 miles an hour faster. Now the guys that didn't have curveballs, now their curveballs is breaking everywhere.
Which is why I wanted to see him in preseason, because the speed's a little more than it is at practice.
And he sat a whole year. I think that, to me, more than anything, it is unprecedented. There has never been a player or a quarterback in their prime, except for Michael Vick.
Yeah, that's the only one.
And guess what? When he came back, who we have? Andy Reid. And Andy Reid will change the offense in a heartbeat. Andy Reid will be like, okay, well, we'll throw this out. We'll get rid of this.
Talk about a cheat code.
Yeah, here you go. Andy Reid make, what's the name, Smith look good? Alex Smith. He made Vic look good. McNabb look great. Like, he's that guy.
Wasn't he the coach for Nick Foles, or am I wrong?
Yes.
No.
That was
What's his name?
in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Can't
think his name.
I can't either. He played quarterback for the Browns, didn't he? Wasn't he one of the
Peterson.
Yes.
Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
And yes, so the processing, to me, that is one thing I will get, because when you see him, sometimes he's like, he sees it and he didn't believe it. He didn't let it go.
Right.
And sometimes it takes time to let that rock go and have faith in it.
Yeah. Do we think they got it right with Tier 3? I think G and I said yes. Do you believe that that's accurate?
Yeah, I mean, he's Tier 3. I think he's right where, he's 18th. It's just middle, kind of middle of the pack. I mean, he hasn't even been that good, frankly. He hasn't been the 18th best quarterback the last 2 years.
No, I think he's getting more equity in 3 years ago, Deshaun.
Yes, still, but less each year because he was higher. Last year, he still was a Tier 2 quarterback on this thing.
Which was surprising, but he was.
I think he could get back to Tier 2.
But here's the thing.
I do too, G.
I want him in Tier 1. He was in Tier 1.
That won't even be good enough. He needs to be a Tier 1 quarterback.
The Browns traded for a guy because they thought he was a Tier 1 quarterback.
Yes.
You don't trade what you trade. You don't pay what you pay for a Tier.
Right now, he's one notch ahead of the guy they gave up on to get him.
What is the definition? Can you read the definition of Tier 2 again?
Tier 2?
Yeah, because I think it was
has a hole or two in his game.
Okay.
All right, Tier 2. Now, if he ended up in the top of Tier 2, I could live with that, but he's got to be in the top. Tier 2 is big.
Explain, read this, and then ask yourself, if he fit that description in Tier 2, could the Browns win a Super Bowl?
A Tier 2 quarterback can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. He can handle pure passing situations in doses, and or possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above tier 3. He has a hole or two in his game. Yes, if he plays at a tier 2 level,
yes,
the Browns can win a Super Bowl.
Yes, they can.
If he plays at a tier 3 level, they will not.
I agree.
No, they won't.
That's it.
I agree.
Tier 3 quarterback. Here's the tier. I'll give you the other guys. So tier 1.
Bo, give us all of them. Tier 1,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Tier 2.
Real quick. Tier 1. Now, me personally, I think there should be a tier just for Patrick Mahomes.
And then
if I were
everybody
doing
else.
it. But Patrick Mahomes is number 1. He's the top. There's only 3 guys in tier 1.
Right.
Mahomes, Burrow, Allen. That's it.
Are you okay with that?
I mean, I think, again, Mahomes to me is in a class by himself.
Yeah.
The only flaw on Burrow is the injuries. There's no flaw in his game.
Should Lamar be in that conversation?
That's what I would have said. If you're
They
making
got
an argument-
Lamar 4th overall.
Yeah, I
in
would have
tier
said
2.
you can make an argument to put Lamar in there, but because they said can carry his team consistently, unfortunately for Lamar, when the spotlight is the brightest,
Yeah.
he has played his worst.
To me, Josh Allen should not be in that list.
Yeah, I would question him.
Like
in that list
he
too.
throws way too many interceptions. Like his decision making ain't there all the time. And look, I know he's a great runner, but if you had to ask me, I'll put Lamar Jackson over Josh
And
Allen.
did they say no holes in his game?
No holes?
Yeah.
His hole is his interception.
I think he does have holes. If I was starting a team, I'd take Allen over Lamar because I'm more worried about Lamar getting hurt than Allen. But
I agree with that.
You're splitting hairs. They're
Okay.
both. So just so you know, Patrick.
before you
So
go-
it's 50. Go ahead, Mike.
Real quick on that.
Yeah.
To Bo's point, it should be Mahomes in tier 1 and then those 3 in tier 2.
Yep,
I
I
agree
agree.
with that.
I
I
think-
think perfect
yes,
with
yes,
that.
That's how it should be.
Yep.
Yes, I agree with that.
It can
So-
really pick your preference in terms
So
of
Mahomes
Allen.
got a tier 1 vote from all 50 people in the poll. Not a surprise. Burrow got 43 votes for tier 1, 7 for tier 2. Josh Allen got 39 for tier 1, 10 for tier 2, and 1 for tier 3, which is absurd. Voting Josh Allen in tier 3 is
Maybe
absurd.
they talked to Ken Dorsey.
Lamar
Is that you, Ken?
Lamar got
coaches do vote on it.
23 tier 1s and 26 tier 2s and 1 tier 3, which again to me is ridiculous. So
Right.
Okay.
anyway, the rest of Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert tied for 5, Aaron Rodgers 7, which I don't buy at 40 years old coming off an Achilles.
So
pull.
are those the guys tier 1?
These
No,
are tier
they
2.
do
Oh,
tier
okay.
two.
So when
Lamar is
who
the top of tier 2, number 4.
Okay.
But I'm giving you within tier 2, you have Lamar, then Stafford and Herbert tied, then Rodgers at 7, Stroud at 8, Dak at 9, Jared Goff 10, Jalen Hurts 11, Brock Purdy 12, Kirk Cousins 13, and Jordan Love 14. So you have 11 guys in tier 2.
Wow.
And then tier 3, you saw starting with Tua at 15.
Right.
So
And there's some good quarterbacks in tier 3. You got guys.
There are.
that-
There's serviceable guys
You got
there.
Tua. You got Trevor Lawrence.
But to Bull's point, we didn't blow up the franchise and give up 3
Right.
number ones and an unprecedented at the time contract
Yeah.
to have a tier 3 quarterback
No.
or a guy that might be a tier 2 guy.
Yeah.
He needs to be a tier 1 quarterback.
He needs, at the very least, to be
Upper
a
half tier
legitimate
2.
top tier 2,
Yes.
top of the guy.
And if he is,
Then that's
we're
good.
talking about the Browns in the
Yes.
playoffs. And if he's not, we're talking about another season that didn't end the way we wanted.
Right.
It's
That's it.
all signs and all of these discussions that we've had come back to one thing.
Yeah.
He is the elixir. He is the guy.
You can't-
If he plays well, this team wins. If he doesn't, we don't have a
And
chance.
winning in the biggest moments, because the Browns have a good enough roster that they could still go to the playoffs with a tier 3 quarterback. But once you get to the playoffs and you're facing Mahomes or Burrow or Allen or Lamar or all these other guys, like, you're not going to consistently beat tier 1 and tier 2 quarterbacks.
No.
Because they have good defenses, maybe not as good as your defense, but it's good enough that they're going to get much more better quarterback play. So Deshaun Watson may not be the difference between them making the playoffs and not, but he's definitely going to be the difference between them making the playoffs and having
winning.
a chance to win it all.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
We're going to talk a little bit about the quarterback 3 situation because that's the big takeaway from the Seattle game. And some news came out this morning that's going to impact the Browns' decision on whether or not to keep Tyler Huntley, DTR, and/or both. But real quick, if you guys don't already subscribe to the UCSS newsletter, you can text a number on the bottom of your screen to sign up. It comes out every Monday, has a little exclusive content you can't find anywhere else with a written article from someone on the UCSS staff, a top 5. It has the schedule for the upcoming week, things you may have missed from the previous week, and today's member shout-out goes to, as I scroll down, Darren Smith, our guy from Kansas City, is our member of the week. So shout out to Darren for being a lifelong member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Once again, you want to be signed up for that. Text the number you see on the bottom of your screen right there. Guys, this came out just a few minutes ago, but Tom Pelissero tweeted out that the NFLPA has vetoed the revised emergency third quarterback rule that would have allowed teams to elevate a bona fide quarterback from the practice squad an unlimited number of times. So as this tweet gets cut off because Social News Deck's an absolute freaking joke, the rule will be reverted back to the 2023 version, which says the emergency third quarterback must be on the 53-man roster, not an elevation.
Why did I think that was already a done deal? Was it pending the NFLPA approval?
Well, they
Yes.
did it last year, but I guess the NFLPA had the right to veto it.
Why would they?
I guess they're wanting to push the NFL to expand
rosters. Well, but in the
which
meantime,
they should.
Yeah, but in the meantime, teams will suffer again.
Yeah, that's
That
that's
doesn't
not
make
great.
sense.
No, it's
You're cutting off
maybe
your nose
they're
to
trying
spite
to
your
pressure
face.
them to get it done now,
Well, they're not going to expand rosters now. That
I mean,
has
you could
to be done.
expand one spot quickly, probably.
I don't even know if they could.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. But they need to expand rosters.
And that's going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the thinking is the preseason games, they'll probably go down to 2 preseason games,
18.
add the 18th game, and expand the rosters.
Double bye and expand the roster.
Yes, that seems to be where we're going.
Here, at minimum, what I don't understand is you have 53 men on the roster and only 45 can dress.
Yes.
What is the point of that?
I don't
You're
understand
paying them
it either.
anyway.
I don't
Why
get
can't
it.
they all dress?
I don't get it.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
I don't usually like to do this, but I'm going
Uh-oh.
to read a comment, or I just got a DM from one of our typical watchers who's usually pretty good on this and says the NFLPA wants these players to get active roster play. The emergency quarterback only got a practice squad salary.
Oh, yeah.
oh, well, okay,
Yeah,
then
that's bogus.
So if
yeah,
that-
it is
if
bogus.
that's real-
Again, what are they pinching nickels
Yeah,
for?
if that's
The
real,
league makes
They're
shout out to
billions of
stacking
dollars.
billions of dollars of gold bars. Why are we pinching nickels?
I mean, how much is one NFL game check for a minimum salary player versus the practice squad?
Pennies, Bull.
40,000?
pennies
I mean,
for what we're talking
yeah,
about
I mean,
from
it's
what their
absurd.
profit margin
Yeah,
is.
it's just
They
crazy.
be doing.
You know what?
They
You
got
talk
head
about greed.
scratchers sometimes.
Oh, my God.
So regardless
Put
of
the NFL shield up in the dictionary for
Yeah.
the definition
They're
of
the
greed.
worst.
That's
so
it.
Regardless of that rule, it does put the Browns. I think they were going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster regardless.
Probably.
On the
They are,
53.
yeah, they are.
Now this essentially confirms the fact they are. DTR and Huntley both got legitimately extended play throughout this preseason. We got their side-by-side numbers, Steve, if you want to take 213 full here. But they both threw over 50 passes. DTR threw 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Huntley had the 3 touchdown passes in the second half against Seattle. DTR against Seattle had a 46-yard touchdown to Jamari Thrash. We've seen a good amount of both of these guys. G, I'll start with you. They both seem like NFL caliber quarterbacks. Who do you think the Browns will keep as QB3? Who do you think they should, if that answer is different?
Well, listen, I think this is an easy answer. I think DTR, he won that job outright. I thought coming into the the preseason, I thought it was going to be Huntley because he was a veteran. He just already played a little bit. I know people laugh and joke about the Pro Bowl thing, right? But he played for an AFC North team like he was a veteran. But to me, I thought DTR showed way more upside. I thought DTR showed his improved passing ability. And for some reason, he just comes in a game and he elevates things, right? He makes plays off platform. He got a nice arm. I like his youth. He's not that old, but he's played a lot of football in college. I thought he came back and really took that position. The question is, what do they do with Huntley? I don't think he makes it on the practice squad.
They trade him.
Yeah, he's on the trade block.
Andrew Berry has he's a shrewd GM. He signed Cade York, and
Yeah.
with the sole intent, everybody knew he wasn't going to kick for the Browns. They were going to showcase him in the preseason. He made a 55-yarder, I think.
Yeah.
And what did he do? He took a guy who was available for anybody off the streets and turned him into a 7th-round draft pick because he traded him to Washington for a 7th-round pick. Same thing's going to happen to Huntley. He's played well. He's proven that he can play at the NFL in a different, and it may be an offense that looks slightly different than what he was running in Baltimore. And he's not going to have to cut him. I think he's going to trade him. Someone's going to give up a 7th for
Probably.
him. And if not, then no harm, no foul. It didn't cost you anything.
Right.
But I think there's no way they were going to not carry DTR.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to say I think DTR is QB2. And Jameis Winston should be QB3.
I don't think that's going to be the case.
I don't think it is either, but If you exposed DTR to the practice squad,
Yeah.
or Jameis Winston, which one do you think is going to be in more demand around the league?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's fair.
No,
Because,
I know, but
but
which one do you think is?
I don't know that either would be, frankly, in much demand.
No, I didn't say that either one
But
would. But if I see DTR on the list, I'm like, oh hell.
I think
DTR's got more football in him than he's played.
Sure.
And I think Jameis Winston has played more
I-
football than he has left in him.
Sure, but like listen, last year we were all pissed off they traded Josh Dobbs because they didn't have a veteran backup. So it's good that they have a veteran backup this year, and Jameis, who's played a ton of games in the league.
And
DTR is like
I just think DTR is. I think he's better.
I think
I don't think he's better than Jameis.
No, I don't
Okay.
think. I think Jameis Winston is a dude that if Jameis Winston started and he played all 17 games, I think Jameis Winston could throw for 4,000 yards.
he has. He's thrown for 5,000 yards.
He
hasn't
stay
he?
healthy.
He's thrown 30 touchdowns. Now, he's thrown 30 picks, but
yeah, right. He threw for 5,000 yards.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
Can
he
he
did.
stay healthy?
So I guess.
I mean,
don't know. The bottom line is they are keeping DTR. I don't know that DTR is ever going to be a starting quarterback in the league. I think he's a
I
backup
thought he made some
quarterback.
really nice throws.
The guy is so frail. I'm worried. Look how thin
Thin.
he is. Like I'm worried about him staying
scares me
healthy
too,
if he
boy.
plays. But he showed you. Forget the preseason. He showed you enough when he played last year in the
Yeah.
regular season.
Yeah.
That you're not going to just not for Tyler Huntley.
No.
So yeah, I mean, if they can get something for Tyler Huntley, they can. If not, you
He's
cut
one
him.
of them.
Cut him.
He's one of them dudes, man. It's just like, I don't know. You just turn it. I've seen him play with guys like this all the time. It don't look like it seem like it's much. But when he get on the field, he a little faster than you thought. He throw the
Talking
ball.
about DTR,
Yeah,
Huntley?
DTR.
Oh, yeah.
Throw the ball a little better than you thought.
I like him. There's no way I'm exposing him
No,
to
they're not.
the practice
They're not.
squad.
He got a little leadership to him too. Like
Now the only thing, let me throw this at you. The only thing that could I wouldn't surprise me, but I'll throw this. I think this is not likely, but if some team say offered the Browns a 4th round pick for DTR.
Well, that was the question I wanted to ask you.
No, that changes.
Yeah,
that changes things.
Last-
You could get
week-
now I don't know that any team would do that, but if you did, then you'd probably trade him.
all right, DTR, man, I love what you was
Yeah.
doing here, bro. I wish you the best of luck.
We had a good time. It was a short time, but we had a good time.
Or you can get another position in need, like maybe a
I don't
lineman
think
or
they'd get a
something.
4th round pick.
Well,
for
I
doubt
wanted
it,
to
but-
ask you guys that because Zach Jackson put out the article last week that the Browns were at least listening to offers for DTR in case
Yeah.
the team wanted to make the case. He was just saying the value for DTR is higher than Huntley. So from a Brown standpoint, and maybe it is a 4th round pick, if it is, by all means, that's the answer. What would you have to get in return for DTR for you to say, okay, thanks, this has been awesome, but
I'd think about
I
a
can't
5th
do it
round
now.
pick.
Four, even a 5th, like a 4 or a 5. Because look, just be honest, the difference between what Huntley is going to do with some practice reps during the week, game planning, is not going to be that much difference between what DTR do. So if I get me a 4 or 5, I'm like, man, I could package that with something and get me something else, bro. Like, especially if you're going to play Jameis Winston, I would think about 4 definitely. 4 is I'll pack his bag and call the Uber. But for 5th, all right, it's cool. But
I think I'd take a 5th too.
Yeah, 5th
I
is,
think I would.
I would.
yeah.
I mean, that's a legitimate pick, unlike a 7th round pick.
7th
Yeah.
doesn't do much
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me.
5th can make
does-
Fifth can make the roster.
The difference between, like, I understand they went to 5 quarterbacks last year, but the difference in the end between DTR and Tyler Huntley is
Negligible.
probably not that much.
Where was DTR drafted? 6th?
no, he's a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
I think the
5th round.
140th overall.
So
I'll
you'd
double
basically
check.
be getting a mulligan if you got a 5th round
I don't.
pick.
I don't like that, Dan.
Yeah.
I want to be coming up.
You could upgrade it to a 4. We would talk.
Give me the 4.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
he
keep
was a
get an
5th
offensive
round, 5th
lineman
round
for
pick.
him.
5th round pick.
You know, there are some teams with real quarterback issues. The Raiders, I think the Steelers have real quarterback issues.
Yeah.
I don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
When was the last time you could say that about it? Well, maybe last year.
You know what? I'm done counting them out because I count them out every year and they always are competitive. And
yeah, but
I don't know. The Raiders quarterback situation is ugly.
Oh, it's
my
terrible.
God! I was listening.
Denver's going to go with Bo Nix.
Yeah. I was listening yesterday. I listen because I'm that kind of nerd. I listen to Fantasy Football Radio on Sirius XM sometimes.
Ooh.
And I'm listening.
That's why he wins the league.
Yeah. They were interviewing some guy who's like does a Raiders podcast.
Yeah.
This guy You would think the Raiders are going to be the 85 Bears, the way this guy was talking. Yeah. Come on, dude. I don't know your name. I wish I knew the guy's name. He was like, the Raiders have 2 great quarterbacks. I'm like, what?
They don't have one great
He
quarterback.
goes, they have 2 quarterbacks who have proven it in this league. Aiden O'Connell played like 3 games.
And was terrible.
Proven
and Gardner Minshew had moments.
He's fine.
But he's still Gardner Minshew.
Minshew is the new Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, you're right.
He's good if you have to start him for like 6 weeks. He plays well.
And then
he becomes a pumpkin again.
Yeah, a pumpkin at midnight. Yeah, he had some moments against the Browns last year.
Elite backup.
Yeah.
Good starter for a couple of weeks.
But if you need him for 10 games, you're in trouble.
You're not winning You're not going to the playoffs with him, and if you somehow do, you're not winning any playoff games with him.
He's the white version of Jacoby Brissett.
Could be.
He's Wacoby Brissett.
Wow, that is
Wacoby.
Wacoby Brissett.
Oh my
That's
goodness,
crazy.
All right, did we exhaust that topic, Mikey?
Yeah, I think we did. And if that's good with you guys, we don't even have to do a break. We could go right on to our softball game recap. We're going to do it at 12:45.
Let's face it, that's what the fans have been waiting for.
Look at the clock. We very rarely, to the literal second, hit
to the
timing.
second.
We did it. So I'll let you guys take it away.
So how did this thing go down?
So I don't remember who was which team. What were the names of the teams again?
I don't know.
The Lakeside Legends.
We were black jerseys. You guys were red.
Red, yeah.
Lakeside Legends and
what was the other team?
Downtown Dynamo.
Downtown
Which
Dynamo.
one were we? I don't even remember.
First of all, shout out to Stephanie Haney. Stephanie
Lakeside.
is the social director upstairs at Channel 3.
There we go.
She's so good at it.
She's awesome.
She coordinates these events. She's she is the team cheerleader that everybody needs.
She has incredible enthusiasm.
She really does.
She's fun. She's sweet. She's awesome.
So she basically said, the way it was set up was she made myself and Matt Babb, who manages a travel U15, I believe, softball team. I think they won their championship this year. Very, very good. His daughters are good. He's got a really good group of softball players. So he's a very good manager. He knows the game. So he was a captain, I was a captain, and we did a blind draw. We put all the names into a hat.
Right.
That wanted to play, and I think there were 32 or something.
Something like that.
And
we had like 82 outfielders.
Oh my God.
Most of them couldn't catch.
Really, at the end of the day, it really wasn't softball. It was you had 8 infielders.
Yeah.
At one point we did. And 7 outfielders.
Yeah.
But the idea was to have fun. Everybody got to play.
It was a close game.
The batting order ours was 16 long, yours was 15 long.
Yeah.
And we just blindly drew. And at the end of the draft, Matt, who was the manager of the other team, said, I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this really isn't fair. So we had,
get out. I thought the teams were fair.
No, here's what he did, which I thought was very, very kind of Matt. That wasn't the original roster. He said, I'm going to protect 8 players, and I'm going to let you take 2 of my bottom 8, and then you can give me 2 of your players. So I'm looking at 9 through 16. I'm like, I don't know if these people are any good. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I took 2 people that I thought would help our team. And then he took 2 from my roster, top 8 exempt.
Yeah.
To try to balance it out. I'm not sure it made any bit of a difference at all.
The game was fair. It was close. It was 15-13.
It was very close. So it started out, we scored. Here's where I did our lineup.
Yeah.
I put the top 4, the 4 hitters on our team. I put top 4.
We had like the worst hitters at the top.
I know you did. And it was funny because I was talking with Tyvis, I think, about how the lineups were constructed.
Yeah.
No, it was McNuggets. He goes, wow, you guys front-loaded your lineup. I said, yeah. I just have to hope we get through it 3 full times and that we cycle back around for a 4th. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because if we do, we're going to win. Well, of our 15 runs, what was the final score? 15-13?
No, we won 15-13.
Yeah, of our 13 runs, I think 11 of them came from the top of the lineup. We cycled through twice. It was 5-0. We had another inning where we scored 6. And it was all from the top of our lineup. So the big question was, are we going to get back to the top by the 9th inning?
And our pitcher shut you down the last
Our
couple innings.
last hitter made in the lineup made the final out of the game.
It was Anthony.
If we had been able to cycle back around to the top, I liked our chances a lot to score 2 runs.
I couldn't play.
You couldn't play.
And you weren't there.
I couldn't play.
I had you penned in as the 4 hitter.
Couldn't play.
And it wasn't there. Now, Jason Lloyd.
It was a flight. It was
Jason Lloyd.
He had a rough day.
And I can't really make fun of too many because I had an embarrassing moment. But Jason was way worse in the field than I was. Every time the ball was hit to him, I screamed out E5,
And he did.
And he did every time.
Yeah, it was rough for him. I felt really bad for him. At some point, Mike Polk, who was playing on our team, after another error, he said, "Come on, Jason, your kids are here."
That was funny.
I thought, well, he's taking friendly fire, and
Jason's older son was the umpire. I was getting on him
he
all
was.
day.
He threw you out of the game.
He did, but I refused to leave.
You refused to leave the field. So we now are protesting the result because they used an ineligible player.
That's true.
And
I knocked in the 15th run.
You did. I think Mike did. Mike knocked in the 15th.
I knocked in the 14th run, and I knocked in the 15th.
I hit 14 and 13.
Oh,
we were
okay.
down 12-13.
Yeah,
in
the last inning.
And by the way, we held you guys at 12 for 5 innings.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that or not, but you guys were at 12 in the 4th inning. And then the 5th, 6th, 7th,
we didn't
and
score
8th,
for a while.
Nothing. Wow. Or no, you guys were bottom.
The 8th.
You scored
it was
the
bottom of the 8th that we took
Yeah.
the lead for good.
Did you guys give out an MVP trophy? Who was the MVP?
Yeah, Jay
Well,
got
Jay
it.
Yeah,
got
I
it.
don't even know how I got it. How does someone on the losing team
right.
get the MVP?
Jay played very well. I got to give Jay credit. I said this on the Guardian show this morning. This man is an
Actually
incredible athlete. I know it's softball. People want to make fun. Even Jay makes fun of softball.
I don't play softball.
But Jay, and I'm not even saying, like a lot of people say Jay's a great athlete for someone who's almost 60, which you are almost 60, which is hard to
59.
believe. But he's not just a great athlete for almost 60. He's just a great athlete. He made the play of the game. He made a diving catch in softball. This is absurd. He dove.
You left your feet.
Well, now the
And then
reason
he
I left
caught
my
it,
feet,
and he spun on the ground.
That's
it
wild.
it was 13-12, and Brandon Simmons, who's used to be a reporter at Channel 3, he's now our digital news director.
And he
pitcher, by
smoked
the
that
way.
ball.
He pitched great. He hit it to the gap, and
Yeah.
AJ was playing left center, and I was playing left. And right before the ball was hit, I told AJ, it's a one-run game.
Yeah.
The one thing that can't happen is it can't hit the grass and get by us.
Yeah.
Because Brandon's fast, it'll be a home
Oh,
run.
if you don't catch that, it's an easy home run.
So I told
Yeah.
him, I said, listen, I am going to sell out and try to catch it anything that I can, but you got to have my back.
Yeah.
Well, when the ball was hit, before I dove, I saw him in front of me.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, hell, if I don't catch this, it's a
over.
walk-around
Yeah, yeah,
home run, and the game is tied.
Oh, we got a couple.
So I
things
had to
we-
lay
Do you
out.
have a video of this catch by any chance?
No, we don't have to catch, but a couple things we got to mention.
Got it.
Tyvis Powell.
He dropped the fly ball.
He dropped the fly ball.
Not just a
Inexcusable.
fly. I mean, it was an easy play.
He camped under it and
Yeah.
he dropped it.
Tyvis Powell.
Tyvis Powell.
Now, I thought
But he did hit one pretty well.
he did get hit one, which you caught.
I caught in
Yep.
left center, and he got
You
all
caught-
of it.
No, AJ caught the one in left center.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
We
You
actually
caught
had-
Mike's.
we have video
you
of
caught
that.
I
Mike's
caught Mike's.
fly ball.
I caught Mike's.
Mike hit the ball really well. From the station, Jay was the best player. Mike, I thought, was a close second. I don't know who was third. I mean, I thought I played decently. I can't run.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to.
Ant got on base, even though he should
I
have
got
been
on
out. He
base
should have been
twice,
out the one
too.
time. Should have been out the one time.
I went 2 for 4.
What video do we have? Do we have
But
any?
yeah, let's cycle through some videos.
Anything that you
But
can
the play of me falling at first, unfortunately, we don't have the whole video. Jay hit a show the play, Mike.
Well, this is Tyvis
Oh, okay.
hitting it out to AJ, who makes Jason's kid AJ,
Yeah.
who makes a really good catch in left. Unfortunately,
How
social
about
news
that
desk
one? I don't know who
sucks.
that. Jay, who's the woman that made that catch on our team in left center? That was I couldn't believe she caught that. ball.
Oh God, that was a big play in the
I
game.
thought it was
Bull.
huge.
Oh,
we
here's
would have got
Bull
around to the
following.
top of the lineup if she didn't catch it.
There's me on the
Yeah,
ground.
Bull, you got to explain this play from your perspective.
So-
you can see Bull on the ground there, but
So
Who's
Jay,
running right there?
That's
That
Jay.
was me.
Okay.
Jay
you
hits a
moving.
hard ground ball. He goes oppo. I get like kind of down because I'm like, hey, I tell the kids all the time, you got to get your body in front of it. Jay hit it, fairly hard, and I get down. I make the play cleanly, and then I go to take two. I'm like 2 steps away from first.
You didn't move after that.
I just fell.
And I thought, oh shit, he's going to beat me to the bag because he's going to crawl.
I tried to, but I couldn't.
And
I
so
thought-
I started
I thought he
picking up
tore
my
both
pace a little
Achilles.
bit, and I looked at Bull, and Bull's like, I'm not moving. I'm not moving.
I thought he tore both
Hey,
Achilles.
you
I
ever-
said, when I first fell, I'm like, I can crawl to the base.
That's what I thought you were gonna
started to
do.
get up. I'm like, I can't make it. I can't do it. So Tyvis said to help me up.
I don't know. If I send you a text of that.
But I made some good plays. I made some good plays at first. I had a couple of scoops, did I not, Mike?
Hey,
No, you did pretty good. You
Hey,
did
we
pretty
not
good
gonna
job.
skim over that. Your lower body gave
That my lower body just shut it down right there. Shut it down.
It really did.
DJ Loose Cheeks.
I just sent you that same play, Mike, on text. I don't know.
Oh, my
I don't know
God.
if you can get that to air, but
If you texted me, I'll tweet it out.
That's what. Sometimes, man, you have all the greatest intentions in the world,
my gosh.
and in your mind you ready to go, but your body.
Well,
be
he
like,
made a hell of a play to
That's a
stop
great
the ball,
stop.
and I'm like, first of all,
stop.
I was going to right field because if it got past you, I'm still running.
Right.
And I thought, I can sneak it by Bull. He's
Yeah.
probably got a step or two to his left
That's
and his
it.
right.
I got no mobility.
And I smoked it right at him, and he gobbled it up, and I thought, oh my God.
Oh, there's one more play we have to talk about. And I'm going to let Anthony chime in here. But Tyvis, his first at bat, hit a pop-up right to Anthony in center. And I'll let Anthony give a little play.
Do we have video of that?
By the way, I
wish we
knew
had
Anthony
video of
was
that.
going to
It's burned in
drop.
my
I'm sorry,
brain.
Anthony. Tyvis didn't run, by the way. Bad job out of Tyvis.
Because he thought it was going to be an out.
I said, Tyvis, run. He's not going to catch it. He didn't.
I was, you know how you see something and
Yeah.
it seems like it's the last scene in a movie where everything slows down? That's what that one was for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's in too far.
Oh,
He's
no.
overrun it.
Yeah.
Which
It's gonna
sucks because I had all the confidence in the world that I was right.
Listen, I was starting to judge my own depth perception because I was in left field. When it was hit and he stopped and went like this,
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God, that ball's 10 feet over his head. But when he didn't move and he was camped under it with his glove, I'm like, oh wow, maybe my depth perception is off.
Yep.
It wasn't.
No, mine was.
It's tough for
I
people
don't
that are
play
not
outfield.
experienced catching fly
It is
balls
hard.
when it's really hot.
No,
high
it's
hit. Yeah.
and there's really when you're running too,
Yeah.
and you're trying to eye hand and time something,
Yeah.
it can be very difficult.
You got the play, Mike?
Jay just sent it to us. It takes us a sec to get
No,
into,
but the fly ball to Anthony. You don't have that one?
I bet.
No.
You know, I bet Stephanie
when
has
they
that
when they go through all the footage,
because
we'll
she
we'll
recorded
have
the
a
whole
chance.
game.
Yeah,
But it's going to be super small because it's an iPhone.
Yeah.
By the way,
Listen,
how about when I
we had 100 topics to get through today, so
Me
I
and
was diving through.
Anthony's girlfriend Bree and I collided at first base on a play.
You did.
She
You
is
did.
getting an X-ray on her knee today, by the way.
No, is she really?
Yeah, she
For
can't
that collision?
walk. Yeah, no, she woke up this morning and she cannot put
Oh,
any,
no.
any weight on her leg.
That was Mike's fault. He made a bad throw.
Bree made a hell of a play at third base. She
Bree
didn't.
was a ringer.
She made a nice stop, but she didn't make the throw.
Bad job out of you, Anthony. You should have been like, hey, listen, I don't want you running into nothing. You go right in right
No,
field.
she did it.
And then the next play, Anthony stepped on my foot.
Yeah,
That-
oh
that-
yeah, I
that's the
rolled
one
my
you should've
ankle.
been out on.
Well, you know
Look,
what?
his
We are
foot
lucky
was
that-
on the bag.
No, you stepped on my foot.
It was in the middle of the bag.
Well, but it doesn't matter. My foot can be wherever I want it to be.
Get out of my way, Bull. I was
No, I'm
trucking.
just saying you were out because I caught it before you stepped on my foot.
I can't believe
look,
that woman could have died, man. That
Yeah,
could
we
have
had a big collision.
Yeah. My fear was we had a picture. She's our 6 o'clock producer, Taylor Moore, upstairs. She
Was
was
she the one who
pitching-
bunted and ended up getting a home run out
Got a
of it?
home run off a bunt. That tells you what kind of game it was. Real pretty girl, really smart, good, just great at her job. But my fear was, God, don't let her take one back up the middle.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because it just, I mean, you could get destroyed.
Yeah.
Somebody, I can't remember who, somebody for our team
Yeah.
smoked
It was
one.
Bree.
It was
it
Bree in the
Bree?
last inning.
Right
Right
at
back to
Brandon,
Brandon
yeah.
at the mound.
He made another play, though, earlier that was a line drive that
Yeah.
a guy hit, and it was smoked.
Was it Crane?
It might have been. I just remember thinking at the time, God, please don't let that happen to Taylor.
Yeah.
Because her reflexes, there's no way she's going to get a glove on it, and that could just destroy
And what,
you.
All in all, though, it was a lot of fun.
it was a fun
we got
day.
through 9
Even though it was
innings.
a million degrees.
You know what I think we,
We got
should
2
do?
super chats, so last thoughts.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
Super chats in.
Go ahead.
Yeah, wait, super chats, then we'll give last thoughts. We got 2 today. One from Halim Youssef, who says, the city council has 0 power and doesn't have a seat at the table in the current stadium negotiations,
No,
and
that's
neither
not-
does the county. That's why their reps are out in the news cycle but have no actual information.
Yeah, that's
to
not
share.
true. That's just not true.
And then Bill
And let me
Rodewald-
quickly say why that's not true. If the Haslams didn't want or need them, they wouldn't be going to them for these discussions. They don't want to pony up all the money. They want to see how much the city will give and how much the county will give. At the end of the day, he's right. If he wants to move this, he's going to move it, but he's going to have to incur the $1.2 billion. He wants help financially from the city and county. That's why they're at the table.
And the other super chat comes from Bill Rodewald, who says, what is the life of a renovated stadium versus a new stadium? Are we going to have to be renovating again in 10 years?
Yes.
The Haslam
Yep.
should finance the new stadium with commitments from government to improve access.
Commitment from the government. What?
You mean in terms of roads? I think that's what he means, like access to the state. I don't know.
I don't know. They're landlocked where they are.
What were you going to say, Jay?
They're
We got a
landlocked.
couple of seconds. What were you going to say? Something about the softball. You had one last thing.
I think that at some point we really should put together a charity softball game
Yes.
for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
The Zach Meisel was telling me today that at the end of the baseball season, there used to be like this tournament for one day where like the beat reporters would play WKYC.
Yeah, we did that
and
in
Channel
Tampa.
5 and Channel 1.
Yeah.
We should do something like that for charity.
That, you know what, that really would be fun.
Yeah.
Get all of the news arms in town to put a team together.
Right.
And play like a little round robin. Texas shootout. Those games are an hour. You know,
Yeah, let's go.
And we could
be
definitely, we should look into
Hey,
that.
hey, listen, I got dual citizenship. I'm looking for an NIL deal.
Oh, so whoever pays you the most between 92.3 or us?
Like Jay said,
92.3 pays about $8 an hour. So you know where you
And with that, we'll see you on
why we can't
overtime.
have that nice
Peace.
speech.
And you ain't getting overtime there either, G. Don't remember. You get overtime every day here, Monday through Friday.
Oh, my.